Madam Chair, we're ready to go whenever you are.
Good morning, all, and welcome back to this beautiful building. Douglas, roll call, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Bradshaw.
Here.
Commissioner Cruz.
Present.
Commissioner Falcone. Commissioner Grisby.
Present.
Vice Chair Guardino.
Present.
Commissioner Lugo. Commissioner Liu.
Here.
Commissioner Martinez.
Present.
Commissioner Norton. I believe she's going to join us remotely here shortly. Commissioner Tavaloni. Commissioner Tavaloni? I know he's on.
He's still recovering from the bill for the wine last.
Ah, that's got to be it.
Yeah.
Chair Eager.
Here.
Senator Newman. Assemblymember Friedman. Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Douglas. How about some rules for us this morning? We don't have enough rules.
How about some suggestions?
Okay.
Welcome to day 2 of the May 2023 CTC meeting in beautiful San Francisco. The Commission's meeting agenda is located on our website at www.catc.ca.gov. All of the presentations for today's meeting are also available on the Commission's meeting page of our website under the View Download Meeting Materials tab. American Sign Language is being provided for this webinar. I'm not seeing them on our screen.
I'm working on it.
Okay, they will be provided on our webinar shortly. Live closed captioning is also available. Please select the Show Captions tab at the bottom of your screen. There are a number of language options available there for you to choose from. Sorry. Got a text from Commissioner Tavaloni. He is here. He's having a little trouble with the audio. Any document the CTC creates can be translated into any language you need. Simply email us at ctc@catc.ca.gov, and we will have them returned to you as quickly as possible. For our presenters, if you're on the agenda to make a presentation, please do your best to be succinct. Please remember to speak at a steady pace to allow our
here.
Commissioner Tavaloni, we can hear you now.
You can't hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent, excellent. I'll stay for a while then.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you. For our presenters, please remember to speak at a steady pace to allow our translating services, when they get here, adequate time for accurate translations. If you are presenting remotely, we hope that you will turn on your camera during your presentation, if you have one. For our members of the public, we welcome comments from the public as part of each item at this meeting. For those attending in person, please submit a speaker slip to the clerk in the front of the room. That's me. Speaker slips are here and also by the front door. And let us know which item you'd like to make your comment on. For those attending via Zoom, you should see the webinar control panel, likely located on the bottom of your screen. There you'll find the raise hand feature and Q&A tabs. We encourage you to use the raise hand feature as early into the item as you can to give the system time to acknowledge you. Alternately, you may use the Q&A tab to submit your comment. Please be sure to include the agenda item number you are commenting on, and the Commission staff will read the comment on your behalf. As a reminder, each registered attendee is provided a unique link and phone number to access the webinar. These should not be shared with other participants, as they are registered to a specific attendee and can create confusion for staff when making comments. For all of our meeting attendees, please do your best to be concise. Please make sure your comments add new information. If you agree with the comments of the previous speaker, simply make that statement. Please remember to speak at a steady pace to allow our translating service adequate time for accurate translation. Since we often have many speakers, we ask that you make your point in 3 minutes or less. If, for some reason, we have many speakers on any single topic, we reserve the right to limit comments to 1 minute as needed. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Douglas. Today we will begin with tab 21. Rebecca.
Commissioners, The purpose of this hearing is to obtain final comment on the 2023 Local Transportation Climate Adaptation Guidelines before adoption. The proposed 2023 guidelines are included as an attachment to the book item for tab 22. The Local Transportation Climate Adaptation Program will provide support to eligible applicants as they develop and implement projects that adapt local surface transportation infrastructure to climate change effects, improve transportation and community resiliency to natural hazards or disasters, and advance environmental justice. The Commission guidelines describe the policy, standards, criteria, and procedures for the development, adoption, and management of the Local Transportation Climate Adaptation Program. Staff brought forward a draft version of the guidelines at the March Commission meeting. Commission staff held a total of 5 stakeholder workshops to develop this cycle's guidelines. At the 5th stakeholder workshop, held April 26th, conversations with stakeholders centered around the revisions to the guidelines that occurred since that March meeting. Those revisions include Section 3, Program Schedule. Schedule was adjusted to allow additional time for applicants to create a comprehensive project nomination application. Section 6, Eligible Activities. Added a link to the Protect Formula Program implementation guidance to provide applicants project examples. In that same section, added a reference to the federal Protect legislation pertaining to community resilience and evacuation route activities. Section 10, Funding Restrictions, have been updated to reflect the Protect legislative requirements pertaining to evacuation route and community resilience activities. Additionally, per the Protect Formula Program implementation guidance issued by FHWA, the notification should be data-driven and evidence-based, supporting the need for additional evacuation facilities and aligning with the purpose and definition of evacuation routes. This guidance document is included as a linked resource within the draft guidelines. Lastly, language revisions were made to the total funding available for evacuation route activities to be consistent with Protect requirements. Section 12, Screening Criteria. For 12A, defined the climate tools applicants are required to use. 12B informs applicants that 1, eligible project nominations must be connected to either a federally defined disadvantaged community or a state-defined climate vulnerable, under-resourced, or underserved community. And 2, directs applicants to use specific tools to support the determination of vulnerable communities. Sections 12C and 12D have been clarified that the project nomination must be consistent with state and regional plans as well as environmental goals described in those plans. Section 15, additional evaluation criteria, has been revised the evaluation language criteria to be consistent across commission competitive programs. Section 16, programming funds, clarified requirements for funding all phases of a project. Appendix D, Community Data Tools, added a subsection for federal screening tools applicants must use in response to screening criteria. Lastly, before opening the hearing for public comment, I would like to thank the numerous stakeholders that have contributed to the development of these guidelines with their enthusiastic and supportive engagement. I'd also like to extend my sincerest gratitude to Commission and Caltrans Division of Local Assistance staff who have been invaluable resources of knowledge and support. In particular, I'd like to acknowledge Teresa Favila, Lori Waters, and Monica Torres for contributing to the development of the guidelines, and in addition, Alika Changlizi, Doug Remedios, and Justin Hall for providing technical assistance during public workshops. With that, staff recommends opening the hearing for public comment.
Thank you, Rebecca. At this time, we will open the hearing. If anyone would like to give a statement on this particular issue, speak now or forever hold your peace. Do we have any public comment for this hearing online?
Yes, we do. We have received one written comment from Sarkis Kotchek. They write, Sarkis Kotchek, Santa Barbara County Association of Governments. We would like to thank Rebecca Light for all the great work with development of the program guidelines for this new program. We also appreciated her outreach to potential project applicants. This will be an important program for local and regional agencies throughout California. We also have 3 virtual attendees with their hand raised. Up first, I'd like to call on Aaron Hoyt.
Good morning, Chair Eager and Commissioners. Hopefully you can hear me. This is Aaron Hoyt, Deputy Executive Director for the Nevada County Transportation Commission. First and foremost, I'd really like to thank Teresa Favela, Rebecca Light, and Lori Waters for the transparent and really meaningful engagement they facilitated with the development of the LTCAP guidelines. They continue to amaze me and go above and beyond with listening to regional agencies and their interests and comments during the development of the program, and really trying to find solutions to our comments and really trying to balance the differing interests that they receive from various stakeholders. The LTCAP presents a historic opportunity to address climate adaptation challenges and further resiliency efforts such as wildfire evacuation needs. And this is critically important when there are no other really truly dedicated funding sources that enable regions to proactively target known evacuation routes and deficiencies. And you may recall from prior meetings where I've spoken on the severity of wildfire risks in Nevada County. But I'll mention one more time that 92% of our residents live in high or very high wildfire severity zones. So this program could not be more timely in terms of entering wildfire season and really allowing us the opportunity to start targeting and being proactive with making sure that there are safe evacuation routes in Nevada County. So at this point in time, NCTC fully supports the program as developed, and we want to thank you for this program.
Thank you, Aaron. Do we have other comments?
Yes. Up next, we have Haley Courier.
Good morning. Thank you so much. My name is Haley Courier, and I am a policy manager at Save the Bay. I'd like to thank you so much for your effort in putting together this important program and prioritizing climate resilience and transportation. This is absolutely our #1 priority, and we must be thinking forward like this. So thank you for this effort. I did want to, and I also appreciate the feedback taken around including nature-based solutions. And I just want to make sure that we are prioritizing projects that employ nature-based solutions, and that the criteria is definitively incentivizing and prioritizing nature-based solutions that provide multiple benefits to communities. Nature-based solutions such as green stormwater infrastructure and wetland restoration are better able to adapt to the multiple hazards that we face. And so often municipalities want to include greening projects into bicycle lanes and pedestrian corridors and bus stops and public right-of-ways, but the lack of funding is a barrier. So ensuring that these investments are not only allowed, but incentivized by LTCAP money would really ensure that projects are prioritizing the most cost-effective multi-benefit options available. So again, thank you so much for your work. And the nature-based solution is there. And just want to make sure it's incentivized and prioritized and not a footnote. Thank you.
Thank you, Haley.
Up next, we have April Webster.
Hello, good morning. Thank you. My name is April Webster. I also wanted to thank Rebecca and the team for the great work on this program. It's really important and needed in the Bay Area. And I also wanted to say thank you for taking feedback during the stakeholder workshops to add, including the proposed use of natural infrastructure elements to item A in section 15 for the additional evaluation criteria. It can be difficult to tie some green streets projects, such as those that introduce stormwater to help address flooding, or green medians back to VMT and GHG. And as an evaluator, it can be challenging to interpret requirements. If we want to see more active transportation projects that incentivize green infrastructure elements to ensure our streets are not only safer, but also climate resilient and more inclusive, ensuring these types of projects can qualify and have the same opportunity to be scored as highly as those that meet VMT and GHG criteria is important. If it's too late to add any additional information to this nature to the document, even adding more detail to say the evaluation rubric, and guidelines and clear examples to make it easy for evaluators to make decisions about these types of projects could also help. Thank you very much for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you, April. Do we have others, Justin?
We have not received any other public comment for this item.
So last chance for anybody in the room for this hearing. Okay, at this time, I will close the hearing and we will move on to tab 22.
Tab 22 is an action item to adopt the 2023 Local Transportation Climate Adaptation Guidelines. Staff would like to add that after guidelines adoption, the first cycle call for projects will be officially open and posted. Staff recommends your approval of the 2023 Local Transportation Climate Adaptation Program Guidelines as proposed in the attachment to the book item.
Thank you. Vice Chair Gardino?
Thank you. First, I want to echo the comments from the gentleman from Nevada County calling in and the excellent work that our professional team does in being transparent and listening and engaging with our stakeholders. And every time we hear that, everyone on this dais is just so proud of the work that you do on behalf of our state. So thank you for that. Second, I won't speak for other commissioners, but I think we're all incredibly excited about this new program, this new opportunity with state and federal funds to make a positive difference in climate adaptation. And I, again, just want us to continue to help amplify the great work of our professional staff who's already done such fantastic outreach, that we engage our networks. This is a new program, and if my math is right, I was a poli-sci major, so it may not be, but if my math is right, from approval today, should we vote in that direction, to submission of applications is only 73 days for a new program. Is that roughly correct, Teresa? So I would just encourage my colleague commissioners. We all have such amazing networks. Let's get the word out about this great opportunity to make a difference. And with that, I would like to make a motion that we approve the guidelines with our appreciation for all the work that's gone into them.
Second. Do we have any other questions or comments from commissioners? Do we have any public comment?
We have no public comment for this item.
Thank you. Then we have a first and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. Great work. Tab 23, Beverly.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tab 23 is an action item to adopt the 2023 Active Transportation Program Metropolitan Planning Organization component for the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. The amended 2023 Active Transportation Program fund estimate included
Oh, wait a minute, we gotta make sure.
included $853.52 million for the statewide
If I want to
component,
mute, when I hit that, let's see.
$170.704 million for the small urban and rural component, and $682.816 million for the Metropolitan Planning Organization component. Of the total available for the MPO component, $143.062 million was apportioned to MTC. The Commission adopted the 2023 Active Transportation Program statewide and smaller urban and rural components at the December 2022 meeting. Final MPO component programming recommendations were due to Commission staff by April 21st, 2023. However, MTC submitted their final recommendations to Commission staff on February 10th, 2023, and requested early adoption of their program of projects. The Commission will consider the programming recommendations for the remaining 9 large MPOs at its June 2023 meeting. MTC selected 15 projects with $143.062 million in active transportation program funding, and with total project costs of $353.489 million. 100% of the projects benefit disadvantaged communities, and 11 of the projects are safe routes to school projects. The recommended projects include a broad range of active transportation improvements, including over 33 miles of new bikeways, 8 miles of new sidewalks, high visibility crosswalks, intersection bike boxes, shade trees, bike racks, benches, lighting improvements, ADA compliant curb ramps, and bus boarding islands. 3 of the projects also include non-infrastructure programs such as walk and bike audits, bicycle and pedestrian skill classes, and the development of safe routes to school maps. So there's 15 excellent projects here, but I did want to highlight 2 of them today. Brandy, could you pull up my slides, please? Okay, so the first one I wanted to highlight is Alameda County's San Lorenzo Creekway project, which is being recommended for $17.2 million in active transportation program funding, and it has a total project cost of $33.5 million. So this project narrowly missed the funding cutoff in cycle 5. And we just really want to commend the project sponsors for just really taking the initiative to work with us on refining their application. They took advantage of our application debriefs and our site visits and just really worked hard to get this funded. So this project serves the unincorporated Eden area of Alameda County, which is a historically underserved, racially diverse, and low-income community that is disproportionately affected by pollution from 3 major nearby freeways. The area has some of the highest rates of asthma and preventable ER visits in Alameda County. The area also lacks active transportation infrastructure. So where sidewalks do exist, they're often discontinuous and without warning. There are multiple railroad crossings near schools and homes, and there are virtually no bike lanes, so bicyclists have to navigate streets with extremely high levels of stress. Next slide, please. So this project will construct over 10 miles of bikeways, including a 6.2-mile Class 1 path, and will provide safer connections to 17 schools, dozens of transit stops, healthcare providers, community centers, the library, childcare providers, affordable housing options, grocery stores, health and social services, 3 regional trails, and 4 urban parks. I also really love the non-infrastructure element of this project. It's very youth-led. So they have several youth-led non-infrastructure programs at 17 schools. So they have a bicycle lending program for students, a bicycle maintenance internship program, walk and bike audits, bicycle skills classes, and school walking bus programs. And then additionally, for the infrastructure elements, there's some bridges to bypass dangerous crossings, benches, shade trees, and some new on-street infrastructure such as high visibility crosswalks and curb protected Class 4 bikeways. All right, so next slide, please. And the next project I wanted to quickly highlight is the City of Healdsburg's Healdsburg Avenue Complete Streets project. This is another project that just missed the funding cutoff in cycle 5, and the city took advantage of our technical assistance opportunities to really refine their application. So this project is being recommended for $11.8 million in ATP funding and has total project costs of $14.8 million. So this project will benefit a low-income community with limited access to healthcare, low school enrollments, and limited transportation options. Next slide, please. So this project includes 3 miles of Class 4 bikeways and sidewalks protected by landscape barriers, crosswalks, shade trees, and curb ramps. In addition to schools, parks, the hospital, places of worship, and other destinations, it also connects residents to the local community center, which is the primary location for local meetings and activities. And they have several programs that help the community, such as food bank distribution, a wellness clinic, a community garden, a teen center, and COVID-19 testing. So before I move on to my recommendation, so myself and the rest of my team, so Lori Waters and Alika Changizi, would like to thank our partners at MTC for their partnership on this program, especially Carl Anderson and Kenneth Cow. And we'd also like to thank Caltrans local assistance engineers Desiree Fox and Elijah Hall for their in-depth deliverability reviews and the very in-depth assistance that they provided to successful applicants to address any issues. So MTC's recommendations are consistent with the 2023 Active Transportation Program guidelines and MTC's 2023 Active Transportation Program regional guidelines. Therefore, staff recommends your adoption of the 2023 Active Transportation Program Metropolitan Planning Organization component for the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Beverly. I think we have 2 people who would like to speak that are in the audience. The first is Vivek Bhatt from Alameda County Transportation Commission. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, respected commissioners. My name is Vivek Bhatt. I'm a senior director with the Alameda County Transportation Commission. The Alameda CTC would like to express its strong support for projects proposed and recommended by staff under item 23. Amongst the proposed projects, Alameda CTC is implementing 2 multimodal projects within Alameda County. These projects are critical investments within Alameda County's equity priority communities and Alameda County's high injury network. These projects will improve bicycle and pedestrian safety and also provide access to transit specifically for our low-income residents as well. We also have a significant amount of local sales tax funding invested in these corridors to complement the proposed ATP funding. And again, we would like to thank the CTC commissioners and the MTC commissioners for your consideration and continued support. And also like to thank the wonderful staff of both the respective agencies for the great work that they do. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Michael Williams from Hayward Area Recreation and Park District. Good morning.
Yes, Michael C. Williams. I represent the Hayward Area Recreation and Park District. We are a park district in central Alameda County. We cover half of the city of Hayward, about 150 some thousand residents, but we also cover a large portion of unincorporated Alameda County. Again, over 150,000. So our service footprint is about 310, 320,000 residents. And especially the unincorporated area is the area that has been highlighted by Beverly earlier in the report, by Mr. Bott in his comments just now. And so I just want to say a couple of things to you. I won't repeat anything that's been said. I mean, actually, I didn't expect Beverly was going to present our project. So you've seen the project. It's a phenomenal project. It's not just our personal pet project, but it's an opportunity to do something that doesn't exist. There's a service road that runs alongside the creek that you saw, that the county uses. And so this is a consortium of Alameda County Flood Control and Water Conservation District, Alameda County Public Works, Hayward Area Recreation and Park District. Plus it's adjacent to City of Hayward has a portion of it. City of San Leandro has a small portion of it. So there's a lot of agencies, a lot of interagency support, a lot of interagency cooperation that is going into this. So we're not just doing it by ourselves. And then also, just so you know, that as state commissioners for transportation, we're also borrowing best practices from other cities. I'm stealing everything I can from City of San Jose's trail program. I promise you that they have one of the best ones in the country, I think, not even in the state, but we're using every available resource. So we're not trying to go out and reinvent the wheel and come up with new things. We want to find who's doing the best. And the good thing is we're getting a lot of cooperation from other agencies that want to help out. It's a kind of a new day and time. People want to help and see things get done. It's not the individual silos that cities have been used to. And yes, we're all competing for the same money, but it's people. I've even gotten support and input and recommendations on how to approach our application from other applicants. We're all doing the same thing, but people want things to be done for the residents. Doesn't benefit us if it's just our district and nothing else, but we want it to, what's the greatest public good? And so that's what we're working on. I do want to commend the CTC staff. Lori Waters, her staff is phenomenal. Honestly, no phone calls not returned. They're super responsive. They were the best example of a responsive government. It's my time. Oh, dang, I didn't realize 25 seconds. Okay, so Lori Waters, they're great. And Caltrans, ATC, the Active Transportation Resource Center, phenomenal. It actually does that. So we wouldn't be where we are without that. And I do want to thank the MTC staff and MTC commissioners, because the staff, we've gotten approved at the MPO level, which means they had to see something in our project. It wasn't just, a pet project for them. They had to see where it connects, what it does, and how to bring the most value to the region. So thank you all for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners, and for the work that you do too. I've seen it yesterday and today. And I think our transportation is in really good hands. Just as a resident of the state, I feel a lot better about it, that you guys take things as seriously as you do and you invest personal time and effort into what you're doing. So thank you for that.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Do we have any other public comment?
Yes, we did receive one written comment from April Webster. They write, "We're excited to be hosting Rebecca to talk about LTCAP at the MTC Active Transportation Working Group meeting in a week's time on Thursday, May 25th. Thank you." We received no other public comment.
Excuse me. Do we have any other commissioners who would like to speak or ask questions? And I will entertain a motion.
So moved. Second, Bradshaw.
Commissioner Liu, Commissioner Bradshaw, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And I know we have Commissioner Norton that chimed in there. I heard your voice. Motion carries. Thank you. 24, Hannah.
Good morning, commissioners. So Caltrans has been working on a few road charge pilots recently, and there's one coming up that is going to test actually collecting revenue from a road charge, and also the impact of two different rates on pilot participants. And the road charge technical advisory committee that Commissioner Lewis, the chair of, is tasked with developing design recommendations and a rate for that pilot. Over the course of the last year, the TAC finished doing that. And so I'm presenting in summary form those recommendations and rates. There's actually a few different rates for different vehicle types. Next slide, please. So we made, the TAC made recommendations in a few different areas. One was commercial account managers. Commercial account managers are companies that are designed to handle road charge accounts, and they pay invoices and things. So in summary, we recommended that we vet these companies and require performance reporting and just monitor their performance to make sure that they're providing good customer service and that their information is clear. Next slide, please. Here's a look at the pilot participant recommendation that the TAC developed. And you may recall that we talked about this a bit in October of last year. So we're recommending urban and rural participants and we're also recommending low, medium, and high income participants. And then we're recommending testing all vehicle types in the pilot. Next slide, please. For privacy and security, there's really three documents that the TAC recommended be included. One is an updated policy that was originally developed for the 2017 pilot that was really extensive, and the TAC updated that. Also, the 2021 data privacy and data security recommendations that were developed by the technical advisory committee. We have a couple privacy experts on the TAC, and they worked on those. And then an internal document that was a data security audit completed by Caltrans that had some really good recommendations, and we recommended that Caltrans take a look at that and see what they could incorporate into the pilot. Next slide, please. This is a look at the recommended revenue collection process. So the funds will flow from the participants to the account manager, then to the administering agency, and then to the state controller's office. Next slide, please. We're trying to keep it simple with revenue collection, just recommending a few options, a plug-in device, telematics, and odometer readings. The odometer readings represent a privacy option because you can report those without having to transfer any information. And then a prepay and a post-pay option. Next slide, please. Just some very minor recommendations around enforcement, mainly that the pilot be used as a jumping off point to start thinking about a long-term enforcement policy, and that we start to think about how to coordinate data between commercial account managers and the Department of Motor Vehicles. I believe that concludes my presentation, and I'm sorry, there's also the rates that we developed, that the TAC developed, I'm sorry. And one was for light duty vehicles, and then we have 3 for medium and heavy duty vehicles that were developed in collaboration with the California Trucking Association. And these represent a revenue replacement. So not trying to collect additional revenue. It's different than a congestion charge or a VMT fee. It's just a replacement of revenue. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. I know that's a lot of work that goes into that. And I want to also say a special thank you to Commissioner Liu for all of his time and effort on that committee. I know that takes up a lot, so we appreciate it.
Madam Chair, it's not nearly as much work as it would be if we didn't have the staff that we have. And Hannah's she's been doing with that, and with Laura's oversight, is just absolutely, and Tam, and just amazing work. I also want to express my appreciation to the members of the Technical Advisory Committee, including, the California Trucking Association and Eric Sauer, who's helped with the setting of the rates at a number that could work for them. We also had a lot of conversation about the equity issues involved and the impossibility in a small pilot like this to really deal with equity in a comprehensive or actually meaningful way. But the suggestion that we all keep that in mind as we look toward a road user charge, and just as we had that conversation yesterday about SR 37, there is an opportunity here to take a really regressive gas and diesel tax and make some changes to it so that we don't have a regressive taxation policy in place with the road user charge. So we have that in mind too, but thank you, Hannah, and for all the work that you've done, and you're making it easy on us for doing it, even though it's a lot more than I anticipated getting into when I accepted this job. It was before we decided to go 100% zero emission vehicles by 2035. It has taken on a sense of urgency, and this pilot's a key step in that process. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Liu. We have one public comment, Ruhama Toreda.
Good morning, commissioners and members of the public. Hi, my name is Ruhama Toreda. I'm a strategic campaigner for the NorCal Carpenters Union. As we all know, many of our members and many working people in general have been priced out of the communities that they work in and subsequently face long commute times to work. I think that this pilot can have the potential to investigate whether this policy solution disproportionately taxes drivers with longer commutes, or if it has the potential to solve generally larger gas taxes that people who drive cars with less fuel efficient vehicles have. I think a key piece of information that can help not only policymakers, but the public would be an explicit analysis of what drivers would have paid under a gas tax compared to a road user charge. And I was just wondering if this analysis is explicitly included in this pilot.
Yes, it is.
So there you go. Do we have any other public comment?
We received no other public comment for this item.
Do we have any other commissioners that have questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Hannah. Tab 25, we're back to Hannah.
For this item, I'll be introducing Andrea Hoff from the San Diego Association of Governments. She's the senior project manager for the Otay Mesa East project, and she's going to present on a document that SANDAG put together with Caltrans and ICTC to really collect feedback from Mexico-based truck companies and other business owners around the California-Mexico border to look at the impact of the transition to zero emission freight in that area. So happy to introduce Andrea. Go ahead, Andrea.
We don't see Andrea on the webinar at the moment. We're looking. Andrea, if you could raise your hand if you're on the webinar, that would help us find you. Found her. Give her just a moment to switch over and she can turn on her camera.
While we're waiting for Andrea to jump in, oh, there she is. Well, I just wanted to, before she does make her presentation, I just want to acknowledge all the work that went into this white paper, the partnership between SANDAG, Caltrans, Imperial County Transportation Commission, and the stakeholders in those communities. This is a very thorough white paper. I was very impressed with it. Many of the things that have been discussed in my time in the commission is really encapsulated and even more so and enhanced in this report. So I just wanted to acknowledge, as you listen to the recommendations that Andrea is going to be sharing, that this is a result of lots of work and lots of heart that went into this. So I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Good afternoon. I'm Andrea Hoff, project manager at SANDAG, and I appreciate the opportunity to share the results of our research with the commission today and with members of the public. Next slide, please. I'd like to start off by describing a bit about our California border region. We are located at the very southern portion of California. This research that we conducted was done in collaboration with Caltrans District 11, which covers San Diego County and Imperial County, and the Imperial County Transportation Commission, which is sort of the SANDAG of Imperial County. And this border region really, as you are likely aware, is a critical node in the freight network for our state and nation. We estimate that over $70 billion worth of trade crosses through our regional land ports of entry annually. And this contributes to an estimated 270,000 jobs in the United States and at least 3 million jobs in Mexico. You're also aware that with significant trade in Southern California come a significant amount of trucks. In fact, more than 3 million trucks are estimated to cross through our land ports of entry each year. On the left of the slide, you'll see our regional freight network illustrated, and on the right, some of the statistics that illustrate the economic impact of our land ports of entry, with trucks being the dominant mode of moving goods through our region. Next slide, please. We've also conducted economic analysis that has shown that the freight that moves across our border in trucks contributes to economic benefits across the United States. Nearly every state benefits in terms of economic output from the freight that crosses our border. On the left, you'll see the top 10, Massachusetts being number 1. They rely a lot on the medical device industry, which we specialize in Southern California border region. Texas as well, number 2. And then on the right, you'll see a graph that really illustrates the point that I just made, which is that trucks are the dominant mode of goods movement in our region. You can see the value that comes in through our regional gateways at $46 billion for the land ports of entry compared to our maritime port, although very important as well, and our airport. The value that comes through our border is critical and significant. Next slide, please. So we embarked upon this research and the findings, which are detailed in the white paper included in your agenda, are based on interviews with freight stakeholders and a review of existing studies and literature. And what we found in speaking with folks that use trucks to cross goods across the border are that the new clean air regulations are really forcing shippers and carriers to rethink their entire supply chains. Where are they going to refuel with zero emission vehicles? How long will that take? What are the safety features compared to diesel? What is the resale value of zero emission trucks? And questions just went on and creating a lot of uncertainty for business owners. Next slide, please. At the same time, you and I and communities in the border region are aware that the border region suffers from poor air quality. Truckers can wait up to 5 hours waiting in line, idling, emitting particulate matter. And we also have the busiest border crossing for pedestrians and for passenger vehicles at San Ysidro, a few miles away, which is one of the busiest in the hemisphere. I would like to point out currently that we have a new AB 617 designated community in the border region that's concentrated around our existing ports of entry, San Ysidro and Otay Mesa, where we're proposing a new border crossing. It's less developed. Much of the density is located towards the west. I think it's an important point to understand so that we can continue to prevent sort of the integration of land uses, creating the industry and the homes overlapping with each other, which as we know, really contributes to a lot of health and environmental impacts. So that community around Otay Mesa and San Ysidro has been designated as the international border community, and we're working with the newly formed committee there as well. Next slide, please. So our research revealed a number of challenges and opportunities. The challenges really fit into 4 areas. The first is inconsistency in air quality regulations across the border, so the United States compared to Mexico. And in addition to that, inconsistency in California compared to other states. Another area of concern that emerged from the research are the range, weight, and cost limitations of the battery electric trucks in particular, compared to their diesel counterparts. Freight stakeholders also described the lack of charging and fueling infrastructure, again, contributing to some of their uncertainties, and the consideration for maybe improved outreach and messaging to the community in order to prepare folks for a transition. In addition to that, some economic analysis revealed that based on qualitative research, that costs could be significant for medium and heavy duty truck operators. In particular, the high priority fleets could face a penalty in comparison to their smaller trucking company counterparts. And this can lead to higher shipping costs and some decline in marginal economic activity, leading to a rise in prices for the consumer. Next slide, please. So in addition to challenges, our team of interagency and interdepartmental staff and stakeholders also identified a variety of opportunities, and they're listed on the slide here. They include building, charging, and fueling infrastructure near, at, and south of the border. On the right-hand side of the slide, you'll see a photo of one of the first, I believe, in California fueling stations in actually the Otay Mesa area. In addition, streamlining permitting in order to continue to provide this type of infrastructure, pilot projects. One stakeholder suggested a truck sharing program to enable folks to become familiar with what is a very new technology before investing their livelihoods in a very expensive vehicle. Reducing border wait times has been critical for improving air quality as well. And also on the right, you'll see a rendering of the Otay Mesa East Port of Entry. It's a project that will be a relief valve for the heavy, severe congestion at the border and encourage a more efficient flow of goods through a new port of entry, a third port of entry. That will manage demand through congestion pricing. So that's another example of creative tolling, which can facilitate the transition to zero emission freight. A few other ideas that we listed in our paper are overweight corridors. The battery, heavy duty battery vehicles in particular are heavier than diesel, therefore less goods, less payload can be transported. And we point out that consideration of potentially looking at pilots that would enable a higher weight vehicle could offset that need for, or that loss of payload, or the need for 2 trucks to carry the same amount of goods. Other ideas include exemptions, incentives for specific groups, border appointment system, and strengthening outreach and training. Next slide. I think that is my last slide. So with that, thank you very much. I'm very grateful to Hannah for her facilitation and participation in our research, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Andrea. You know, this is so timely. I was just down in your area a few weeks ago. I was able to utilize the amazing cross-border express to fly out of Tijuana from the California side. But I went a little bit early to look at this area and see what you were doing with the freight. And actually, I was just talking to someone last night about the work that we do as commissioners. One of the exciting things, right, is we get to look at what are those things that people are doing around the state that are so innovative and are looking to the future. And I was actually talking about this project in particular because I did go to Otay Mesa and look at what you were doing there with your charging stations and what that looked like with the trucks lined up, and what your plans are for getting them off of those roads and through quicker. So thank you so much for the work that you're doing down there. I was thrilled to see firsthand all the plans that you have, and keep up the good work. Do we have any other commissioners that would like to speak? Yes. Commissioner.
Thank you. And thank you, Andrea, for the presentation. And I also want to recognize Gustavo Dearda with District 11. I know that he and his team worked a lot on this. And Hannah, thank you so much for working with this community. And we've talked quite a bit through the year and a half, and appreciate your attention and your receptivity to the unique challenges in the region. The question I had for Andrea actually is, with these recommendations, and they're very comprehensive, how do we kind of keep focus on trying to make some headway on each of these? The advanced clean fleet regulations were just passed last month at CARB, and so we've got a time clock, right? And so any thought as to really how we intentionally start making some progress in some of these recommendations. Also, really quickly, I understand that the stakeholder community on the border has sent a letter to the U.S. ambassador to Mexico with their recommendations on the Mexican side. So, it's going to take a lot of coordination binationally, but how do we kind of stay focused on some of these things that you've recommended? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I think you are correct. There are far-reaching sort of recommendations that span a variety of topics and projects. And I think the research that we conducted was developed with a technical working group that was across agencies, as well as a project development team at sort of the management level. And I would like to, we plan to reconvene that group, obviously not as often as it took to develop the research, but reconvene to check in on the various recommendations. And in addition, there's unique opportunities with some of the projects and grant programs that are happening, including Otay Mesa East. I think that project is just barely embarking upon its design. And there's an opportunity there to pilot some items and continue the very close coordination that we have with Mexico. I think that it would be, in addition to checking in and continuing to share our research with stakeholders. I'm currently at the Coalition for American Gateways and Trade Corridors, and they're speaking. I've been passing out the white paper here in DC, and we'd like to continue to share our research and sort of reconvene the group in order to check on items. We'd be happy to continue to check in with the commission as well on specific projects as we move forward. Thank you for the question.
Commissioner Cruz, yes.
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate the work that went into this effort and understand the challenges associated with our goods movement and logistics throughout the state. And I think we all agree that we have to really focus on cleaning up these trucks in California as they move across the border, but also from our ports inland. So I guess the question is, we all talk about hydrogen and it being sort of the next big step in technology to address our diesel particulate, and even in the heavy construction industry, we're talking about hydrogen. What are the biggest impediments as far as staff has seen and Breen? I know it's a big question. And what are the biggest impediments at this point to try to bring more hydrogen facilities online in California? And what can we do as provide incentives for drivers or owners to move into to those cleaner burning trucks? And is technology, because I always hear about technology just not being caught up yet to meet the demand. Do we see some shifts now in that technology to keep up with our need to move in that direction?
Yeah, thank you. I think the biggest challenge that we're seeing is the need to transport hydrogen and to do it in a clean way. And the other thing is just the generation, because it's difficult for companies to set up hydrogen hubs in California. There's a couple I know of on the Arizona side of the border that they're planning to use. And then they're going to truck the hydrogen in using zero emission vehicles. So there's different groups working on that, and GoBiz is actually leading a project to try to develop hydrogen hubs in California and to bring the cost of hydrogen down, because right now it's also very expensive. So they're working on that, and really I think they just need time. And I'll be presenting in June some cost parity estimates for hydrogen trucks, and they're a little farther out than battery electric trucks in terms of cost parity, but not that much. So I'd just say we need time. We need to bring the cost of hydrogen down, and we need to make it easier for businesses to open hydrogen facilities in California.
Thank you, Hannah. Commissioner Grisby?
Thank you for the hard work and dedication around this issue. My question is really around the possibilities to reduce some of the impacts on jobs and employment in the Inland Empire. So I know that region is heavily dependent in many ways on the logistics industry, and just wondering if any thought has been given to that.
We are including some work on workforce needs in our assessment, in the SB 671 assessment. But I think I'll get back to you on that question, because I haven't spent a lot of time on that topic. I do have some stakeholders on the work group who can speak to that more. So let me talk to them, and then I'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Do you have any other commissioners that would have questions or comments? Have any public comment?
We received no public comment for this item.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Andrea. We did item 26 yesterday, so Jaden, you have 27 through 57. Give us some information.
Thank you, Commissioner. So Commissioners, tabs 27 through 57 are information items that have been reviewed and found to have no issue raised by Commission staff. Therefore, individual items will not be presented unless specifically requested by a Commissioner. Please make note of the change list for tabs 27, 41, 50, 51, 55, and 56. If there are no questions, that will conclude the presentation of the information calendar.
Do we have any questions on the information calendar? Do we have any public comment?
See Denise.
Receive no
I
public
gotta
comment.
go. Oh, there I am. Okay, no. Yeah, all I
Sorry, that was our sign language interpreter.
We will move to tab 58. Jaden.
Thank you. Commissioners, tab 58 through 84 are action items on the consent calendar. Please make note that tab 67 will be removed from the consent calendar and voted on separately. Please also make note of the change list for tabs 65, 69, 70, 75, and 80. Therefore, staff recommends approval of tabs 58 through 66 and 68 through 84.
Thank you, Jaden. Do we have any questions or comments from commissioners on the consent items? Do we have any public comment?
We've received no public comment for this item.
Then I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve Martinez.
Martinez moved. Second, Cruz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Then we will move to item 67.
Commissioners, tab 67 is an action item. This is the mitigated negative declaration for the 18th Avenue Improvement Project. The city of Clear Lake determined the environmental impacts could be mitigated to less than significant levels. Staff has reviewed this request and recommends approval.
Thank you. Do we have questions from commissioners?
Yeah, this is the one that involves the CEQA lawsuit. So what's our policy for doing this when there are outstanding unresolved legal issues? Do we normally just approve this and let those legal issues play out?
Yes, exactly. And that's how it's written in Public Resources Code 21167.3.
Okay, great, thank you.
Do we have public comment?
Yes, we do have one attendee with their hand raised for this item.
Thank you.
I'd like to call on Alan Flora.
Hello, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thanks for the opportunity to speak today. I'm Alan Flora, the city manager for the city of Clear Lake. As you know, the city of Clear Lake is the lead agency for this project. Lake County and Clear Lake do have a rich tribal history, and we're committed to celebrating and protecting tribal history and resources. The city involves tribal representatives as early as possible in the process. AB 52 consultation was conducted according to the city's responsibility under the law. Tribal involvement in cultural resources study that was conducted by a very well-respected archaeologist with a long history in the region started back in January of 2022. There's no evidence of intact tribal cultural resources at the site, and this has been acknowledged by the tribe. I just wanted to give a quick overview of the area and the project for the commission's benefit. Clear Lake is a severely disadvantaged community, one of the poorest communities in California that struggles with generational poverty. This project is in a federal opportunity zone. Transportation infrastructure throughout the city has suffered from some of the lowest level investment you can imagine, with 110 miles of streets. Over 40 miles of those streets have historically been unpaved. In 2017, the voters approved a dedicated sales tax for road maintenance, which has really helped us turn the corner on investment and dramatic improvement in our PCI over the last few years. The self-help funding that we're talking about here today is critical to investment in our impoverished community. This project itself is the first part of an important economic development project, redevelopment of an old airport into a medical and retail center. The city purchased this property back in the 1990s, and we're just now on the cusp of infrastructure investment that is needed to spur private investment and badly needed job creation. The project is multimodal and will provide transportation equity for several underserved neighborhoods to an existing commercial center, and of course provide access into the future medical and retail center to the south of this project. So the project total is over $4.6 million and is funded entirely from local funding, with the exception of this CTC allocation of 500,000. The local funding we have saved up over several years. This is a very large investment for a jurisdiction with an $8 million annual general fund. As was mentioned by CTC staff, the law actually requires both the city as a lead agency, the CTC as a responsible agency, to presume the approved mitigated negative declaration is in full compliance with the law. Just because the litigation has been filed does not change that without some action of the court. City believes this project is critical to Clear Lake's future and firmly believe that we have followed our obligation of the law related to AB 52 and the CEQA process. And we look forward to and ask for your continued support of this project.
Thank you, Alan. And that was exactly 3 minutes, like to the second. You did really well there. Do we have any other questions or comments from commissioners? Do we have any other public comment?
Yes, we do have one other attendee with their hand raised for this item. I'd like to call on William Chisholm.
Yeah, William Chisholm, thank you. Yeah, good. And my colleague Holly Robertson was going to be in the audience. I don't believe she made it. So since apparently she's not there, I will go ahead and speak on this matter. And say good afternoon. My name is William Chisholm, and I am appearing this morning on behalf of the Koi Nation of Northern California, which is a federally recognized tribe who oppose the city's request for funding at this time. The Koi Nation ancestors have resided in Lake County since time immemorial, and their members are deeply concerned about protecting, respecting, and properly identifying and handling tribal cultural resources within the homeland of their ancestors. And in this, they possess intimate knowledge and expertise. The tribe has produced Emmy award-winning and nominated documentaries on their cultural protection efforts, for which they've received awards from the governor's office. The Tribal Historic Protection Officer, Robert Geary, is recognized by the state and within the profession for his expertise. And in fact, he's had some of his culturally based artwork featured in the New York Met Museum as well as the Young Museum. So the tribe has an expertise and awareness of cultural impacts and protocols for identifying and respectfully handling them. Through this project, as Mr. Flora indicated, the city seeks to extend the 18th Avenue roadway for a new hotel, but they have done so in a way that violates CEQA and led to a lawsuit, in which I should mention the city is not, the tribe is not litigious. This is the first lawsuit that is filed in a CEQA matter. The city did not comply with its obligations under AB 52 to consult meaningful with the tribe. They met once, the tribe asked for information, presented guidelines, city did not respond. Next thing they know, they submitted a proposed mitigated negative deck, and the tribe was not given a voice to speak further about its concerns about the tribal cultural resources. And these include the site adjoins the former rancheria. There were numerous identified cultural sites within close proximity, and it requires an EIR, not simply a checklist M&D. More importantly, we think, and we've looked, certainly the commission has website policies, goals regarding equity, racial equity, traffic equity, environmental justice. We are dealing with an indigenous population, the possible irreparable impact to tribal cultural resources once ground disturbing impacts occur. And we submit this is not the type of project the commission should post on its website as something it's proud to feature as consistent with these goals, given the impacts on the indigenous communities. This is something the commission should send to staff and let staff take a better look at the impacts and let a better look at the equity, how this impacts the tribe and its ancestral homeland. We've submitted a Caltrans letter, which specifically notes that there are cultural impacts. The tribe needs to be consulted. Caltrans's instructions and advisories were not respected by the city, and the commission should not be move forward at this time. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chisholm. Do we have any other public comment?
I see no other public comment for this item. Thank you.
And if I could note, Chair, Commissioner Bradshaw has recused himself from this item.
Thank you. Any other commission comments or questions? Then I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve Martinez.
Martinez, do I have a second?
A second.
Second, Commissioner Cruz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Douglas, can you let Commissioner Bradshaw? Thank you. All right, then we are at item 85 through 90. Cherry.
Commissioners, tabs 85 through 90 will be grouped and considered under one motion. Tabs 85, 86, 88, 89, and 90 are action items for the final environmental impact reports for the Sacramento Valley Station Rail Yards North Entrance Project, San Pablo Avenue Specific Plan El Cerrito del Norte Transit Oriented Development Complete Street Improvements Project, Central Coast Layover Facility Project, ACE Series to Merced Extension Project, and State Route 132 Dakota Avenue to Gates Road Project, respectively. The local agencies for tabs 85, 86, 88, 89, and 90 adopted statements of overriding consideration, finding their project benefits outweigh the impacts. Tab 87 is an action item for the final environmental impact report for the State Route 37-121 operational improvement project, in which Caltrans determined environmental impacts could be mitigated to less than significant levels. Staff has reviewed these requests and recommends approval.
Thank you, Terry. Do we have any questions or comments from commissioners? Do we have any public comment?
We received no public comment for this item.
Thank you. Then I will entertain a motion on tabs 85 through 90.
So moved.
Commissioner Liu, do I have a second? Second. Commissioner Falcone, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, thank you, Commissioner Norton. All those in favor? Oh, I did that, yes. Motion carries. Thank you. We will move on to item number 91. Bridget.
Thank you, Chair Eager. Commissioners, tab 91 is an informational item. At the March Commission meeting, the Commission took action to delegate authority to staff to submit comments on the draft 2023 California State Rail Plan and report back to the Commission on the comments submitted. The Commission's comment letter is included with the book item as Attachment A. In the interest of time, I won't summarize the Commission's feedback unless there is a request to do so. That concludes my remarks, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for Bridget on 91? Okay. Sophia Ravakova would like to speak on item number 91.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. I'm Sophia Afikova, Policy Advocate with the Coalition for Clean Air. Thank you for this opportunity to comment. Yes, so the Coalition for Clean Air supports updates made in the 2023 State Rail Plan, such as improving passenger rail reliability and connectivity to other transit and active transportation modes, and the commitment to transition the entire rail fleet to zero emission by 2035. The plan lists ambitious goals to expand high-speed rail service to Bay Area and Southern California. We share this vision, and we would like to see Caltrans continue to invest in the intercity and regional rail networks. Millions of Californians still rely on public transportation for daily mobility, especially members of disadvantaged and low-income communities who may not be able to afford car ownership. Additionally, significant proportion of air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions come from daily commutes, and improved local rail will help reduce emissions as Californians move away from car dependency. For these reasons, we ask that the State Rail Plan takes a balanced approach and continues to invest in projects that expand and improve local rail transit. We also are concerned about the unintended impacts of shifting the goods movement to rail. While State Rail Plan states that freight rail is more fuel efficient and is thus more environmentally friendly, this statement ignores the significant contribution of freight locomotives to air pollution, especially in low-income communities of color that are located near rail yards and train tracks. To reduce these impacts, we ask that the rail plan includes the requirements of CARB's in-use locomotive rule, which will require locomotives to use cleaner diesel engines and bans the use of locomotives over 23 years old by 2030. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment?
Madam Chair, can I just raise one thing?
Yes, please.
Sophia mentioned the ambitious goals in the rail plan, and I understand that this is an unconstrained plan that really tries to get us to move very quickly to zero carbon locomotive use in California per the governor's initiative. And I'm very supportive of that idea. I just am concerned that getting from here to there is going to take much more than just a plan, an enormous amount of resources and leadership and action and activity. So I think there's a point at which we have to balance the vision and goals of a plan and the practical stuff that we do to actually make it happen. So I would be much more comfortable if we had more of a reality check, and this was, as I mentioned to staff, more tethered to reality in terms of our where Caltrans is trying to go and actually how they're going to get there. Because I think some of them may well turn out to be fantasy, and I don't want that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Chair Eager, if I may,
Yes.
I believe that Kyle Gradinger, who is the Division Chief of Rail Mass Transportation from Caltrans, is on the line and would like to respond to some of the questions or comments raised.
Yes, I see Kyle's hand raised. Kyle, you are now free to unmute yourself and make your comment.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioners, Commissioner Liu, for your comment, and to the representative from the Clean Air Coalition. We really appreciate your comments, and I just want to echo and add a little more information on the zero emission and air quality components of the rail plan. I think even before CARB began their heavy-duty zero emission rulemaking process, Caltrans was working with our rail partners to explore zero emission strategies for passenger rail back in 2017 and 2018. And in fact, the first hydrogen fuel cell powered passenger train in the US, funded by a 2018 TIRCP grant, will arrive in San Bernardino this year. We're really excited about not only the product, but the timeline on which we were able to deliver this groundbreaking new technology. So we at the department, we've been a leader in zero emission rail efforts. We've been convening working groups across state agencies, academia, industry, and rail agencies. And these collaborations have poised California and all of our passenger agencies and our think tanks as well as the leader in zero emission rail in the United States. And just this week, my Deputy Division Chief, Momoko Tamaoki, was in Denver for a Federal Railroad Administration, their first ever conference on zero emission technology. And a lot of that effort was spurred by what we're doing out here in California. We've developed a zero emission strategy for rail, for passenger rail that's going to be published this summer. And we've already begun efforts to procure additional zero emission trains for research and development. And other passenger rail agencies across the state are collaborating with us and working on their own procurements at this time. So we see a clear path to zero emission passenger rail service, and I want to applaud the CARB staff for the collaborative effort that they have led with us, with the other passenger rail agencies and the California Transit Association to make that heavy duty in-use locomotive rule something that works on the passenger side. Obviously, I can't speak for the freight railroads, but I do know that they face different obstacles and an extended timeline to achieve zero emissions. But they are working with manufacturers to develop zero emission technologies. And on that point, as we work on projects that necessarily will take place on the freight rail network, we are working closely with them to ensure that they are doing everything in their power and helping to enable them to do more to ensure that their growth is done with a focus on zero emissions and enhancing equity. So, and finally, to the bigger vision that the rail plan sets, it really sets a vision that can transform how we travel across California. Those passenger service improvements that were mentioned in the comments that are going to provide frequent, reliable, and equitable transportation will have the potential to capture a significant portion of the increase in passenger miles traveled in the state. And we are going to be laser focused on ensuring that that mobility is accessible to all and benefits those who need it the most. And to your Commissioner Liu, your comments about balancing the vision and goals with funding and practicality, point very well taken. I just wanted to add that I'm very excited about a new program that the Federal Railroad Administration is introducing as we speak, the Corridor Identification and Development Program as part of the IIJA. This is the first time ever that the Federal Railroad Administration will be creating a formulaic rail planning and capital funding program. And we submitted applications earlier this year for, I believe, 7 or 8 corridors across the state, intercity and commuter. Even though it's an intercity program, our network is intertwined. And we are optimistic that we will have successful applications and be able to enter into a program very similar to what the FTA has for their New Starts program. And that's not going to solve all of the problems for funding, but I think it's going to be a huge step forward to help make this vision a reality. And I look forward to working with you and others in the commission to ensure that we have the funding and resources to achieve the goals and the vision in the state rail plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Okay, then we will move on to item number 92.
Commissioners, tab 92 is an information item. At the March Commission meeting, the Commission took action to delegate the authority to staff to submit comments on the draft 2023 California Freight Mobility Plan. I'm not sure if you're having deja vu. We have a lot of letters on this agenda. The book item was updated on May 12th to include the Commission's comment letter as attachment B. The Commission's comments focus on the topics of public engagement and plan implementation, but in the interest of time, I won't go into specific comments unless there is a request to do so. In order to meet federal deadlines and keep freight funding flowing through the state of California, the freight plan will need to be finalized and submitted to the Federal Highway Administration no later than May 23rd, 2023. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions or comments.
Do we have any questions or comments for Hannah on item number 92? And we do have Sophia Avakova that would like to give a comment.
Good morning again, Commissioners. Sophia Arfico, Policy Advocate, Coalition for Clean Air. Thank you for this opportunity to comment. We appreciate the changes made in this update based on our previous suggestions, such as basing performance metrics on emissions data, ensuring public outreach includes timely notice of meetings and events, and amending the environmental stewardship objective to highlight the need to eliminate toxic air pollutants. However, we are concerned that this update removes several key environmental and equity implementation strategies, and we ask that they be restored. In particular, we ask that strategies ES1A, ES2C, ES3E, and a portion of HC2A from CFMP 2020 be restored in this update. These strategies offer the state an effective way to ensure that our communities and the environment are prioritized when improving our freight system by promoting the use of sustainable pavement types, decarbonizing our commercial freight fleet, incentivizing projects that minimize GHG and criteria pollutants, and providing food and childcare services to outreach attendees. These strategies will not only help California meet its climate and air quality targets through building a more sustainable freight system, but will also improve California's economy through creating a fuel-efficient, decarbonized fleet, and will promote engagement and feedback from impacted communities. Additionally, we asked that strategy ES1B to encourage freight mode shift to rail and water considers only the cleanest locomotives and vessels. These modes currently rely on diesel fuel, which produce air pollution contributing to thousands of premature deaths per year in California. To eliminate these air pollutants coming from the shipping and rail sector, we asked that the strategy requires locomotives to comply with the in-use locomotive rule and to require transition to a zero-emission vessel fleet. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Sophia. Any other comments from commissioners? Commissioner Liu.
I would be interested. Sophia was on vacation, so she had no opportunity to tell me about these concerns about these items that were taken out. I didn't become aware of them until yesterday, so I didn't get a chance to ask staff or Caltrans about these at all. Have staff, has you taken a look at that, and do you have an opinion, or is there someone else who could comment on that?
Yeah, Commissioner Liu, when staff reviewed the draft plan, we also noticed that some of the implementation strategies from the 2020 plan had not been carried over to the 2023 plan. And so in the commission's comment letter, we do have a bullet asking Caltrans to explain why those strategies have been removed, if they had been completed, or if not, why they weren't included in the plan. I also believe that we have someone on the line from Caltrans. I'm not sure if he would like to respond. I believe that we have Jeff Morneau from the Office of Freight Planning.
Yes, I see Jeff's hand raised. Jeff, you're now free to unmute yourself and make a comment.
Yes, yeah, my name is Jeff Morneau, and I'm the office chief for the Office of Strategic Freight Planning at Caltrans. I want to thank you for the opportunity to comment and respond to comments. I just wanted to acknowledge the letter that we received from the California, the Coalition for Clean Air, and we are evaluating those comments, and we are revising the plan based on those comments. And once once we submit the plan, we intend to send a response letter. And I can tell you that we are revising the plan based on those comments that we received from the Coalition for Clean Air. They were very helpful. As for why some of the strategies were removed, some of them were viewed as redundant, but we are reevaluating that assessment, and we're considering putting some of them back in. So I just wanted to address that, and I'm happy to take any other questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any other questions from commissioners or comments? We have public comment.
Yes, we do have one other virtual attendee with their hand raised. We have Jane Stevenson.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, my name is Jane Stevenson. I'm with Pacific Environment. We are an NGO with consultative status at the International Maritime Organization, focused on shipping decarbonization. We submitted our comment letter on the plan with Coalition for Clean Air. So I just wanted to reiterate a few comments that were made a few moments ago. Specifically, we are asking that when considering a modal shift to waterways, that only the cleanest vessels are used. As mentioned, the global shipping industry burns predominantly diesel fuel for propulsion energy and is responsible for an estimated 3,700 premature deaths a year in California. So we're asking that strategy ES1B must be paired with a recommendation to transition to zero emission vessels to eliminate climate and air pollutants from the shipping sector. Moreover, we are recommending that there be funding for zero emission green shipping corridors to link the zero emission fuel demand and supply between ships and ports. This is really crucial if we are going to be recommending a modal shift to marine highways, that these corridors are truly green, to help scale demand across the maritime industry and supply chains. Right now, we have a green shipping corridor established between the San Pedro ports of Shanghai and Singapore, and so creating a green shipping corridor along the Pacific Northwest should also be achieved. We also ask that the plan recommend zero emission vessels and cargo handling equipment rather than low emission vessels and equipment in order to meet the governor's executive order N7920. And lastly, the plan mentioned that there was some stakeholder input recommending more funding for dredging at seaports to make way for bigger ships. Port communities are suffering from toxic shipping pollution, and so we are opposed to any projects, any funding of projects that involve dredging, as this causes several environmental impacts, including harming endangered species, releasing varied contaminants into water, and increasing water cloudiness. Thank you for the opportunity to provide public comment.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment?
I see no other public comment for this item. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Bridget, we are back to 93.
Thank you. Tab 93 is an information item. On May 5th, staff posted the first draft of the Regional Transportation Plan Guidelines for Metropolitan Planning Organizations for public comment. Comments will be accepted on the draft guidelines through June 5th. There are several ways to provide feedback, but one simple way is to share comments via email to rtpguidelines@dot.ca.gov. The first draft of the RTP guidelines for MPOs focuses on updates to incorporate changes in state and federal law, streamline language, and update references. Guidelines language to address policy changes since the 2017 RTP guidelines will be developed through the technical work group process, with many of the work groups meeting this month and throughout the summer as needed. Looking ahead, staff anticipates presenting a second draft of the RTP guidelines for MPOs, as well as a first draft of the RTP guidelines for regional transportation planning agencies to the Commission in the fall. And I would like to acknowledge the work of Caltrans staff to lead the technical work group process, monitor comments, and incorporate language edits into the draft document. That concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Bridget. Any questions or comments from commissioners? Do we have any public comment?
We received no public comment for this item.
Okay, we look forward to the next draft. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are at, excuse me, tab 94, the first of the Tim Solomon Show.
Thank you, Chair Eager. Commissioners, item 94 is an information item on the Commission's comments on the Caltrans draft 2023 State Highway System Management Plan. During the January CTC meeting, Caltrans gave an overview of the draft plan with focusing on the differences between the 2021 plan and the 2023 plan. Caltrans submitted the draft plan to the Commission in February, and in April, the Commission submitted a letter with comments to Caltrans. Some of the comments were related to the plan's alignment with CAPDI strategies and goals, the basis of cost estimates with recent trends and inflation, new and revised objectives that were included in the plan, and expectations of meeting TAMP Transportation Asset Management Plan performance targets. Mike Johnson, the statewide asset management engineer for Caltrans, is here virtually to highlight a few of the Commission's comments and the Caltrans responses. Mike, you on the line?
Yes. Good morning, Chair Eager and Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity. I have a very brief presentation. I'll try to go through quickly in the interest of time. First, I would just like to thank the Commission and the Commission staff for providing comments on the State Highway System Management Plan. In total, we received over 500 comments from the Commission and from the public at large, stakeholders around California. So quite a robust interest in the State Highway System Management Plan. Next slide. The Commission had submitted 24 formal comments. Those comments have been received, reviewed. We had meetings with the Commission staff, and a written response to each of those comments is incorporated into this book item and will also be incorporated in the final plan. In working with Commission staff, we identified a couple selected items to really focus on for this presentation from the larger set of 24. But if the Commission has questions or follow up on any of the 24, happy to comment. Next slide. So the first area that we felt we wanted to address is wildfire in the context of climate resiliency. This is an area where the plan for the first time actually has a climate resiliency investment. And this is largely attributed to IIJA and the PROTECT program that was established within IIJA. So we have some federal funding coming in, but we're also supplementing that federal funding with some state funding. And the comment was basically that the State Highway System Management Plan needs assessment, quantifies sea level rise, storm surge, and coastal cliff retreat. There was no quantification or needs assessment associated with wildfire evacuation routes. We'll acknowledge that. We don't have that analysis, and it's not included in the plan. But I will just remind the Commission that in 2021, we didn't have coastal cliff retreat, and in the 2019 plan, we didn't have any of it. So we're as we go through these plans every other year, we're layering in content as the content matures and is at a point that we feel it's ready to put into the plan. But we did make a number of changes in the plan associated with this comment. First was to really promote up, which we were silent on in the draft, but to promote the effort that the department is spending on proactive fire prevention. You know, evacuation is the result of, or potentially the result of a fire. The department has considerable resources going in to prevent wildfires from getting out of control in the first place. Over the course of this plan, that's approximately $900 million being invested for vegetation management to remove the fuels that would lead to the need to evacuate communities. There was also comments related to other inland climate resiliency things, particularly related to excessive precipitation, as we saw with all the snow and all the rainfall. And just noted that for precipitation, the climate resiliency adjustments, if you will, that we'll do will happen over time through our bridge program, our drainage program, and our pump program primarily. And there are others, but those are really the three big ones. So specifically to this question of the evacuation routes, there is requirements that the fire severity maps be updated. In April of this year, the fire severity maps were still out for review and comments. So they haven't quite been finalized, but so that's one of the things that led us to think, well, we're not quite ready. And then evacuation plans were required by a couple of bills that recently passed, and cities and counties have up to their plan refresh cycle, which is up to 8 years to complete these evacuation plans. It is estimated that there will be over 450 of these evacuation plans ultimately. And so we in Caltrans have also engaged the University of California to compile these plans as they become available. And since we put out the draft, we received comments from various sources. We have had conversations with the university researchers about doing some work to look at prioritization of evacuation needs. And there is a way to do that. It's kind of a top-down approach. It's fairly high level. And we look forward to working with the cities and counties to kind of layer in those detailed plans as they come online. But from the standpoint of the overall state highway system management plan, we really felt that there was too much that was unknown for this particular climate stressor. And we think that this will be, a much better candidate for incorporating in 2025 plan. So that's the climate resiliency comment and the department's response. Next slide. There was a comment related to cost escalation. I won't go into all the technical details here, but when we put out the draft plan, we were using an escalation rate of 3.2%. We have been using that rate since the 2019 plan. In 2021, after we put our plan out, the fund estimate went in, recommended 2.7. We didn't make an adjustment within our operations within Caltrans. We left the 3.2%. That's what all projects were being escalated to. Then we saw kind of a spike in inflation from 2021 to 2023. That spike, when we went back and looked at it, represents kind of the highest rate of inflation we've seen in the last 20 years. And in the 2022 year, that rate went up to about 4.9%, 4.89. But it's been coming down in the quarters since 2022 ended. So we don't think that rate is appropriate for a 10-year time horizon, a 10-year plan. But we did go back We've adopted a protocol that we think will be consistent for all plans in the future, utilizing something called the National Highway Construction Cost Index. We look back at the prior 10 years. We took the average escalation rate over that 10-year period, and it's quite variable over that time. But the prior 10-year average was 3.8%. We updated all analysis and all calculations to reflect a 3.8%. The reason I'm going to all this detail is that this will be the 3.8% used for the SHSMP and subsequently the SHOP will be different than the shorter duration escalation rate proposed for the STIP fund estimate. Next slide. There was a question about the bridge condition investment. In the constrained investment plan, we showed a 56% investment relative to the need. That occurs because there's a significant amount of the need that is attributed to future deterioration. That where the specific bridges that future deterioration will occur on is unknown at this time. It's just based on deterioration modeling at the network level. And our fiscally constrained investment plan does focus and provide funding for all identified needs on bridges that are fair and poor condition. So in a sense, putting more money towards this investment would leave us just waiting for the bridges to be identified. And since we update this plan every 2 years, we can pick up those new bridges in subsequent plan, and it allows us to redeploy resources into other areas. Next slide. And then finally, of the ones that we thought would be worth highlighting, there was a comment about the mobility hubs. There's a lot of excitement for this new objective in the State Highway System Management Plan, and I've talked to the commission about this before. I think Caltrans Traffic Operations has done some great work in this area, and we're excited to put it into the State Highway System Management Plan and the SHOP ultimately. I think we're taking an approach where we're looking at this as pilot. We expect to be able to do approximately 6 to 8 mobility hubs with the funding that's provided. We really want to look at how these projects go in the next 2 years, look at utilization, evaluate lessons learned. There's a lot of coordination with transit agencies, with local MPOs and RTPAs that are involved. And we're doing these pilots in various contexts around the state. So we want to see, well, what does an urban mobility hub look like, and how does that differ from, say, a rural mobility hub that may not have the same kinds of multimodal opportunities. And so our approach and our level of investment is just one of kind of a pilot approach, trying to be prudent with taxpayers' resources in this area. And, we can, certainly will be evaluating these in future plans as we go forward. So with that, I will just conclude there with those 4 and happy to take any questions on these 4 or any other comments or responses.
Thank you, Mike. And, we certainly want to express how much we appreciate the partnership between CTC and Caltrans in working towards the goals that we all have. On a personal note, as someone who lives in inland California and the crazy climate changes that we've had lately and what that means for these issues, coming from a place where it's a high fire danger, drought forever, and then all of a sudden now we have flooding coming that, we would have never expected, refocusing on, how do we address all these issues? We certainly appreciate Caltrans' response to those. So thank you. And with that, I think Commissioner Norton has a question or comment.
I did. Thank you so much. And Mike, this is a great presentation. And I love that you are leaning in on mobility hubs and looking at various iterations of them. Because as we work to reduce VMT, we may be getting out of our cars in different ways and in different times, and maybe getting into a carpool car. It may be that we don't always connect it with transit, but we connect it to other tired vehicles, rubber tire vehicles that can take more capacity. But in any way, I think that being able to have this exploration and an opportunity to remind people that we are looking at multimodal highways is fantastic. And so I just want to commend you on not only leaning in on the mobility hubs, but to also look at the different types and in different urban and non-urban areas so that we can optimize how we get people out of our cars, how we get people to use new systems differently, and how we can still use the highway system as that trunk, and with future congestion pricing to have the driving portion of what is done on those freeways help fund the transit portion of what's done on those freeways. So, and active transportation adjacent to those freeways as well. So I really want to just +1 on all of the things that you're doing and commend you for modernizing the vision of how we use the state highway system.
Well, thank you. And we are certainly looking forward to that day we can hang up the sign at the Hawthorne Norton Lou pub. So that hasn't left my mind.
I'm going to be completely embarrassed. He actually does that.
Do you have any other commissioners that would like to make comment or questions? Do we have any public comment?
Yes, thank you, Chair Yeager. We do have one attendee with their hand raised for this item. I'd like to call on Aaron Hoyt.
Thank you. Aaron Hoyt from the Nevada County Transportation Commission. I'd like to thank the California Transportation Commission for their comments on the State Highway Systems Management Plan. And the CTC's first comment suggests that Caltrans work with the regional agencies to develop a plan of action to address the concerns raised regarding other climate impact deficiencies, such as community evacuation improvements related to wildfire. I'm pleased to hear that Mr. Johnson said that they're being engaged in the University of California on future efforts, but I also would request that Caltrans continue or actually start dialogue with the regions on this topic, because I think that's very important and will also complement the work that the University of California is doing. However, I'm still concerned that the plan is being finalized without this level of engagement that we may see in other programs, and NCTC believes that this dialogue with the regions and identifying how evacuation deficiencies and proposed improvements can be considered now is equally as important. As you know from prior presentations, we're working with the UCLA research engineering team that's been leading efforts on wildfire evacuation, and NCTC has several ideas on how we might address some of these issues now with the department. The reason this is so important is that wildfire risks occur annually and is being exacerbated by climate change. For areas of the state that are identified as high or very high wildfire risks, it's not a matter of if, but when. And I think we all know that. But it's not really just a threat just to infrastructure, but it's also a threat to lives. When the time comes to evacuate, many of the state highways and foothill communities function as the evacuation route. There isn't really another option. And they must also be able to efficiently move residents to safety. In Nevada County, deficiencies are needed for evacuation improvements within the state route Highway 49 corridor. We've documented those deficiencies through evacuation modeling, and those proposed improvements that we're considering are consistent with CAPTI and the Federal Protect program. In addition to being in a very high wildfire severity risk area, 29% of the population in the corridor is elderly, which takes additional time to evacuate. Many of the communities adjacent to the corridor are either AB 1550 low-income medium communities, and they're also designated as federally historic disadvantaged or areas of persistent poverty. So kind of in closing, Caltrans' response to CTC's first comment suggests that the communities wait for 8 years until the general plans across the state are updated to include safety elements. Once those are actually completed, it could take another, 4 to 6 years to amass the funding and actually construct those various projects. So what we're proposing is that we ask Caltrans to delay finalizing the State Highway System Management Plan if possible, to allow for additional dialogue to identify how those projects, like the community evacuation project on State 49, can be considered for funding and included in the baseline deficiency inventory. I thank you for your time.
Wow, he did it again at right 3 minutes. You practice this at home, don't you?
Once in a while.
Thank you, Aaron. We have another public comment?
We received no other public comment for this item.
So Madam Chair, I actually received a text for a comment. Yvonne Garcia, Butte County Association of Governments. BCAG supports the comments made previously by Aaron Hoyt. BCAG respectively requests that Caltrans not prohibit, restrict, or delay emergency evacuation type of projects from being able to compete for the $1.7 billion in resiliency funds. Thank you.
Thank you, Douglas. Any other public comment? Okay, thank you. Then Tim, we are back to you. Item 95.
Thank you. Commissioners, item 95 is an action item for a long lead drainage rehabilitation project on US 101 in Santa Barbara County, requesting a supplemental allocation for pre-construction support for the project approval and environmental document phase in the amount of $1,900,000. It should be noted that item 95 has a pink replacement item. Commission staff has spent a considerable amount of time coordinating with Caltrans to fully understand this request. Reasons for the increased costs are related to higher than anticipated resource needs to study the feasibility of fish passage at one location, coordinating with regulatory agencies for permitting, and consulting with tribes and property owners. It should be noted that this project also has an 18-month expenditure time extension request later in the meeting agenda. While the pink replacement item provides additional detail on some of the project activity areas that were under-resourced, we would like Caltrans to explain what is unique about this project that is driving the environmental phase to take 4.5 years to complete. In addition, what actions are being taken to assure the environmental document can be approved within the newly developed timeline and budget. Is Caltrans here? Caltrans is here.
There he is. Miraculously, he showed up right around that corner.
Thank you, Tim. All right, good morning, members of the commission and Chair Eager. Scott Eads, Caltrans District 5 Director. Pleasure to be here with you this morning. So this project is located in southern Santa Barbara County, very big in terms of length. It's 50 miles in length, over 15 miles in length, many separate individual locations all along a coastal shelf, many which have views directly to the ocean, and also directly adjacent to the UPRR railroad track. So a lot going on here. We were, I think it's safe to say Caltrans was overly optimistic in estimating the cost and schedule that it would take to do this work. As we got into it, we found out that it's quite involved, and that has really driven up the cost, and we've had some delays along the way that are related to this item. So key areas of work that have increased the cost and complexity. Cultural work, we ended up with, of the 37 locations, 34 of those have cultural work involved. We have archaeological excavations at 34 of those same locations and consultation with local tribes. As I mentioned, the UPRR tracks are directly adjacent to Highway 101 through much of this area. And so we're sharing culvert systems. We also required access to their property, obtaining the temporary construction. Well, actually, they're not TCEs. They're permits to enter for the environmental studies took time, more than we wanted. It's always a challenge. Well, not always, but generally a challenge trying to do anything quickly with the Union Pacific Railroad. And then there were additional permits to enter that required on additional 10 properties that were not railroad related, delays associated with those. And then fish passage. This is an ongoing challenge for us, especially when we're directly adjacent to the coast like this. We have a high level of interest in any culvert system that potentially could improve the opportunities for fish passage. And so within this same corridor, we've had areas that were not originally indicated to have fish passage, historical fish passage, that there's been a lot of interest by the resource agencies to really double down and consider, could we provide opportunities for doing so in the future? So there was only one location here, but the iterative process that it has taken in terms of performing hydraulic studies, considering design treatments, changes in the culvert, outfalls, and other things that can make it the best possible situation for fish passage has just taken a lot of time and coordination. And it's an iterative process that's usually, hey, can you run the study again? That seems to be, you know, a velocity barrier, whatever the situation is, can we refine that? So that's been the situation here. And then, of course, biological resources. Anytime you have a culvert inlet and outlet, and there's typically sensitive species around those. And so a significant amount of biological studies that have taken place. During the project development process, we also had a fire called the Alisol fire that came down into our right-of-way in this same area and changed the environment that we were working with. So we had to go back and assess those conditions after the fire as well. So with that, I'll pause and see if there's any further questions.
Thank you, Scott. And I think some of those questions were mine of what that looked like, that timeline looked like. So thank you for explaining in a way that even I understand how that works. So I appreciate it. Do you have any other questions or comments from commissioners on item 95? Guess you're off the hook. Thank you. Do we have any public comment on 95?
We've received no public comment for item 95.
Okay, thank you. Then I will entertain a motion.
Chair Eager,
Recommendation from staff.
I'll make a quick recommendation.
You don't want me to make it up? Okay, you go.
Staff has reviewed the project and the request and appreciates Caltrans' response to the questions, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Now I'll entertain a motion by Commissioner Liu. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Vice Chair Gardino, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll take 97 and then we'll take a break after 97.
Thank you. It should be noted tab 96 was withdrawn prior to the meeting. Item 97 is an action item for a long lead. Sorry. My apologies. For a roadway rehabilitation project on State Route 52 in San Diego, requesting a supplemental allocation for pre-construction support for the plans, specification, and estimates phase in the amount of $200,000. This project determined the need for additional funding for this phase due to the department's decision to re-advertise the contract based on the results of the bid opening in December of 22. After bids were analyzed and rejected, the department decided to modify the contract to address issues raised by the bidders. Additional resources are needed to re-advertise and award the contract. It should be noted this request is also related to item 98 on this agenda. Staff has reviewed the project and the request and recommends approval.
Thank you, Tim. Any questions or comments from commissioners? Do we have any public comment?
We received no public comment for this item.
Then I will entertain a motion on item number 97.
Falcone moves.
Falcone, do I have a second? Grisby?
Grisby.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Then we will take a break at this time and we will come back at 11:15. Thank you.
Okay, new rule. Everyone who was promptly back in the room, your item is approved. The others will have great scrutiny. Technically, the chair said 11:15 and she didn't say AM or PM, so we're going to have to give some flexibility here. If any commissioners are within the sound of this voice, we don't have a quorum to start.
There he is. Okay.
Now we do.
We do
Now
now.
we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bradshaw.
Saved the day once again.
Okay, Tim. Item 98.
Thank you. Commissioners, item 98 is an action item for a roadway rehabilitation project on State Route 52 in San Diego County, requesting $7,106,000 of supplemental funds to re-advertise the contract. In December of 22, the department evaluated 3 bids ranging from 50 to 77% over the engineer's estimate. Since the low bid was significantly higher than the engineer's estimate, the department reevaluated the plans, specifications, and estimate and realized changes could result in more clarity for the bidders and better alignment between the bids and the current estimate. Staff has reviewed this project and the request and recommends approval.
Thank you, Tim. Do we have any commissioner questions, comments? Do we have public comment?
We received no public comment for this item.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion on 98.
So moved.
Lou, second. Bradshaw. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tim, 99 through 102.
Thank you. I will be presenting 99 through 102 with a recommendation at the end. Item 99 is an action item for a collision severity reduction project on State Route 4 in Contra Costa County, requesting $3,550,000 of supplemental funds to award the contract. In November of 22, the department advertised a contract and held a bid opening in February of 23. The contract received 4 bids, but although the lowest bidder was found to be non-responsive. The cost increases on this project are largely attributed to the reduction of efficiency to perform construction activities at 121 locations, which contributed to significantly higher bidders than the engineer's estimate for traffic control and vegetation control. Item 100 is an action item for a drainage system restoration project on State Route 18 in San Bernardino County, requesting $330,000 of supplemental funds to award the contract. In January, the department received supplemental funds to re-advertise this contract due to the contract only receiving one bidder that was significantly higher than the engineer's estimate. The project held a bid opening in March of 23 and received 4 bids. The lowest bid requires an additional $330,000 to award the contract. Item 101 is an action item for a pavement preservation project on State Route 54 in San Diego County, requesting $5,112,000 of supplemental funds to award the contract. In November of 22, the department advertised the contract, held bid opening in February of 23, and the contract received 2 bids, of which the lowest bid was 25% over the engineer's estimate. Caltrans considered re-advertising the project and determined it is in the state's best interest to request supplemental funds to award the contract. And item 102 is an action item for the design build pavement preservation project on Interstate 405 in Orange County that is requesting $58,885,000 of supplemental funds to award the contract. In September of 22, the department advertised the contract, held a bid opening in March of 23, and the contract received 3 bids, of which the lowest bid is 35.5% above the engineer's estimate. The cost increase on the project are largely attributed to the transfer of risk to the design build contractor related to further market escalations, potential impacts of coordination with nearby construction projects, as well as the potential need for iterations of design submittals. Commission staff has coordinated with Caltrans regarding our concerns with a significant cost increase to the project. While the percentage increase is similar to other projects seeing cost increases in the current bidding environment, an increase of almost 60 million is still surprising. While staff supports innovative delivery methods, it is still important to consider all options to minimize project increases, especially one of this magnitude. Before providing a recommendation on all the items, I would like Caltrans to come up and to discuss what options were considered to reduce cost after opening bids on item 102 and recognizing a significant cost increase. I believe Caltrans is in the room.
Good morning, Chair Eager, Commissioners. My name is Adnan Maya. I'm the Caltrans District 12 Deputy District Director for Strategic Portfolio Management. This is a multi-asset project on the I-405 corridor, a heavily congested corridor, and it addresses 10 assets being improved through the project with a complex need for coordination between design and construction to bring about those improvements as early as possible to the traveling public. When we received the bid, we were surprised also by the amount of the increase, although as Mr. Sobelman mentioned, it is in line of the typical bids that we are seeing, 35% increase. However, we evaluated the contractor's submitted bid to see if there are any anomalies, and we found none. We also looked at the proposal to see if it reflected the innovative ideas that we have discussed with the design builders during the procurement process through the one-on-one meetings with the design builders, and it did include those. We also looked at any potential reduction of risk that we have incorporated into the bidding process, and those were incorporated. Nonetheless, the contractor's bid was based on 35% plans with unknown utility risks, construction risks, and geotechnical risks, and those are incorporated in their bid. They also incorporated a risk for further market escalation that they are anticipating over the next year or two during the implementation of the project. We also evaluated a potential to go into a design build process for the project, and we determined that this is still the best method to procure this project and coordinate construction closures in the most efficient way. And we determined that the increase is warranted to award the contract for this proposal. I will pause to see if any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any commissioners with questions? Yes, Commissioner Cruz.
Yes, I appreciate the information and feedback. I'm always intrigued by innovation, design build, progressive design build, and the hopes of delivering projects obviously faster and more in under budget. Obviously, this is one is going over budget. And I guess my question would be a couple. Is there a threshold that Caltrans has if the supplemental costs increase to a level where you consider the traditional and pull back and consider the traditional competitive bid process?
Thank you, Commissioner Cruz, for the question. We do not have a threshold, but we do evaluate the bid very carefully and deliberately to ensure that it does reflect the goals and objectives of the project. This project does bring in improvements at least 12 months earlier to the traveling public, including pavement preservation, safety elements, as well as the introduction and the construction of a mobility hub that adds 160 parking spaces to incentivize ride sharing, carpooling. we did evaluate the bid as well as a potential to go to a design bid build process. And as I mentioned, our determination is that this is still the best method to procure this project and award it.
I appreciate that. And then finally, this is significant, $59 million increase. Will it have any effect on other shop projects? Do you know?
Thank you for the question again. We have discussed that with our headquarter managers, and the information is that it will not have impact to the delivery of other shop projects.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would just be brief. I actually got a briefing with them earlier in the week. The only thing that I would just say moving forward, and I do support this, and I'm one of the first to say that, you know, I would question, and I had a lot of questions for them, and same with Tim, and I want to thank Tim for helping us understand the process. But as we move forward, I think it's important for us to understand when we're wanting innovations and efficiencies, it's kind of counterintuitive when we're paying more for it. Yeah. And I understand that we're we're going to get the project on the ground by 12 months. But just the cost and in regards to the auditing, not just on the contractor side, but also on the Caltrans side. And that's one of the questions that I did ask. And so as we move forward, I just hope that our CTC staff and Caltrans continue, and I know you guys have a working group, to continue to have these conversations, because, for me, innovations and efficiencies, what does that really mean? Because when I look at this project, you're giving me 12 months, to the public, they're going to have this infrastructure, but it's costing $48+ million to do so. And so I think we need to go back and define what does that mean, because I'm still kind of scratching my head and trying to figure out, is this the right method that we need to continue moving forward if we're going to continue to see these high increases? And so I just want us to continue to talk between the staff, so that when we have to make these decisions, we're well aware of what these real innovations and efficiencies are, because I'm still kind of perplexed of what is really coming to the table on behalf of the taxpayers of California. Thank you.
And maybe I can provide a little bit of a response on how we can coordinate, because process matters, as we talked about yesterday. One of the things that Tim and his team does is they constantly work with Caltrans to understand what we're really talking about when we talk about innovations, what we're talking about when we're looking at cost increases that are this significant. But one of the things that we can do over time is during our product delivery workshops, we can talk about at the right time, talk about these innovations, talk about why we're seeing cost increases, also talk about where we're not seeing cost increases because of these innovations, because those things don't often come to the commission, because that's a good thing happening. And so we can start to highlight the good and the bad and how this is working, because as my old boss used to say, when it's smooth, we don't talk about it. But I want to make sure that we have those opportunities to talk about the good that's going on, as well as kind of these anomalies that we're seeing today.
And the analysis of the return on investment, right? As we look at those innovations, what are we getting back for it? Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. And that was going to be my follow-up, I guess, lastly. Is there an analysis being done, like post-project, to identify what those benefits are? What were some of the pitfalls associated with this project, and how we can learn and move forward and be more productive and efficient when we look at these types of projects in the future?
Yes, absolutely. Of course, we analyzed the bids when they came in, but we will continue to analyze the performance of the project all the way leading to completion, just as other projects have been analyzed in comparison to design build method.
Thank you. Have anyone else that would like to make a comment? Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Tim?
Thank you. As a quick follow-up, appreciate the comments that were given, and engineering or CTC staff will continue to work with Caltrans to understand those challenges, and hopefully as we see some of them, maybe some change could be made to the process to, in this case, maybe reduce the risk along the way so that the costs aren't coming in as high. That said, staff has reviewed the project and the request for items 99 through 102 and recommends approval.
Motion to approve, Martinez.
Second.
Do we have any other public comment? We have public comment?
We have no other public comment for this item.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 103 and 104.
There we go. Thank you. I will be presenting 103 and 104 with a recommendation at the end. Item 103 is an action item for a stormwater mitigation project on US 101 in Los Angeles County, requesting $452,000 of supplemental funds in construction support to complete construction. The project realized cost increases due to the contractor abandoning the project, which led to finding another contractor to complete the project, as well as encountering unsheltered people, which impacted construction and caused delays to the project and the need to provide cleanup and repair vandalism occurring to the water and power supplies. Item 104 is an action item for a bridge rehabilitation and replacement project on Interstate 215 in San Bernardino County, requesting $875,000 of supplemental funds in construction support to complete construction. The project realized cost increases due to differing site conditions and delays related to utility work, issues with replacing an existing drainage system, and additional coordination that was needed to address delays related to the duration of the temporary construction easements. Staff has reviewed projects 103 and 104 and the requests and recommends approval.
Thank you, Tim. Questions or comments? Yes, Commissioner Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just very quickly on 103, Tim, and just for Caltrans, and I think in the future, how do we protect these infrastructure projects? So here we are asking for an increase, because of graffiti and other things, and so we're investing millions, hundreds and billions of dollars in infrastructure, but what are the, quality controls or safety mechanisms that we have to ensure that we're actually protecting these very valuable assets?
I'm hoping maybe Caltrans is in the room to help provide a specific answer to the projects.
Good morning, Commissioners. Gloria Roberts, Acting District 7 Director. Thank you, Chair Eager. Thank you, Commissioner Martinez, for the question. And so for all of our construction projects, we do have efforts to try to finish the work as soon as possible. They are construction zones. And so we make every effort to really try to protect, kind of clear off the work area to keep it from vandalism. And unfortunately, in this situation, because we had a situation where the contractor abandoned work, and so work had stopped, and so that kind of allowed the area to go to be subjected to where there was not a lot of ongoing work activity. And then subsequently, persons experienced homelessness, trying to find shelter, found way onto the construction right of way. And so after we were able to get the contract back on board, finding a new contractor with a surety company, then we had to do ongoing mitigation to really look at relocating the persons experiencing homelessness and really trying to clear everything to allow the project to proceed. So as you know, in our experiences with persons experiencing homelessness, it's an ongoing, it's not just we're going to just move them. It's a whole process in terms of really trying to find them and work with the wraparound services to relocate them to a safer environment.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions from commissioners? Do we have any public comment on 103 or 104?
We received no other public comment for 103 or 104.
Thank you. Then I'll entertain a motion.
Martinez approved.
Martinez and Grisby, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Tim. We will now go to Monica for 105 through 111.
Morning, Commissioners. I will be presenting tabs 105 through 111 together with a recommendation after tab 111. Tabs 105 through 111 are action items for the Transit Intercity Rail Capital Program. The supplemental requests include for tab 105, $443,000 for the design phase of the Phillips Siding rehabilitation component of the Valley Rail project located in Sacramento County. Tab 106 is a $2,005,000 request for the design phase of the Del Paso Siding extension component of the Valley Rail project located in Sacramento County. Tab 107 is a $4 million request for the right-of-way phase of the Lodi Station component of the Valley Rail project located in San Joaquin County. Tab 108 is a $5,650,000 request for the right-of-way phase of the Midtown Station component of the Valley Rail project located in Sacramento County. Tab 109 is a $2,230,000 request for the design phase of the procurement component of the diesel multiple unit vehicle to zero or low emission vehicle conversion project located in San Bernardino County. Tab 110 is a $322,000 request for the construction phase of the procurement component of the diesel multiple unit vehicle to zero or low emission vehicle conversion project located in San Bernardino County. And tab 111 is a $140,840,000 request for the construction phase of the OC streetcar component of the OC streetcar and OCTA system-wide mobile ticketing project located in Orange County. Staff has reviewed these requests and recommends approval of tabs 105 through 111.
10,000%, is that right?
Chair Eager, I just want to jump in and add tab 11 is for $149,841,000. Thank you.
So 108, that's correct. 10,089% increase.
That is correct.
Is there such a thing? My brain doesn't go there. Okay, do we have questions or comments on 105 through 111? Do we have public comment?
We received no public comment for items 105 through 111.
Then I will entertain a motion to accept 105 through 111.
Yeah, I'm gonna motion to approve Martinez.
Yeah.
I'm still like.
You're still going 10,000?
Yeah, your streetcar is only 500 and what?
Yeah.
585%, yeah.
Grisby seconds.
Grisby seconds. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Weird.
Do you think?
I think, yes.
Okay, motion carries. We spent a lot of money there. John, 112 and 113.
Yes. Hi, Commissioners. We're going to move into the program updates section. We'll start off with some shop amendments. 112 and 113 are both action items for shop amendments to the 2022 shop, and we're going to take both of them together. 112 is an action item to increase the major damage emergency opening reservation for fiscal year 22-23 by $300 million. This amendment increases the reservation from $645 million to $945 million. This increase, again, as we've seen in the past couple meetings, is a result of the massive response effort that Caltrans has put in because of the severe winter weather, and we're appreciative of all the hard work that Caltrans has done in response to this. So that is 112. 113 is another action item to approve amendments to the 2022 shop. There are a couple changes on the change list for this item, including one project which has been withdrawn. And I also need to read one change into the record that's not on the change list. Project number 1 on attachment 2.1A1A is one of the many new major damage projects, and the construction capital was incorrectly shown as $1,500,000, and the correct amount that we will be recommending approval for is $5 million. This matches the delegated allocation that was made for this emergency project and has already been reported correctly under tab 48 on the information calendar. And so that change would change the total programmed amount for this project from $3.1 million to $6.6 million. These will all be reflected on the final change list for this meeting. So with these changes, these shop amendments will add 100 new projects to the 2022 shop and will revise 57 projects that are currently programmed. And 100 new projects is a lot. 96 of those are major damage projects at a total cost of just over $400 million. So staff has reviewed all these amendments and recommends approval of tabs 112 and 113.
Thank you, John. Do we have any commissioner comments or questions? Yes, Commissioner Falcone.
Just a quick question, John. So with that adjustment, is there any noticing issues now?
Is there any way?
Noticing? Like,
No.
did we have to notice it or?
Oh.
So the project is noticed, the project cost is changing, so there's enough information on the agenda. for you to-
Oh, with the verbal changes that I'm making. Got it. Yes, because we're not changing the number of projects on the agenda, we're just changing the dollar amount. I understand that that's correct, right, Doug?
Yeah, it really is just a simple typo. It's like he said on project 48, I believe it is. It's listed correctly.
Yeah, on tab 48, it's listed correctly.
So yeah, it's really just a typo, so we're good there.
Falcone moves.
Do we have any public comment?
We did not receive any public comment for these items.
Then I will entertain a motion on tab 112.
Falcone moves.
Falcone moves. Lou second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. So we are Anya on 114.
Commissioners, tab 114 is an action item to amend the local partnership formulaic program. The 19 recommended amendments will add 13 projects in the following counties: San Mateo County, Contra Costa County, Fresno County, Madera County, Mendocino County, Sacramento County, San Diego County, Sonoma County, and Marin County. These new projects will rehabilitate local roads, eliminate at-grade crossings, purchase light rail vehicles, and construct active transportation and transit improvements. In addition, the recommended amendments will delete one project in San Francisco County, making the funding available to reprogram, amend two previously programmed projects in San Francisco County and one in Santa Cruz County to program additional funding, amend one project in San Joaquin County to add funds to a new phase, and amend one project in Santa Clara County to add funds to a new phase. This action leaves $1 million of the 2020 Local Partnership Formulaic Program funding available for programming through June 30, 2023. In addition, this action leaves $109.5 million of the 2022 Local Partnership Formulaic Program funding available for programming through June 30, 2026. Staff has reviewed these amendment requests, and they are consistent with the Local Partnership Formulaic Program guidelines and policies. Staff recommends your approval of this item.
Thank you. Do we have any comments or questions from commissioners on item 114? Since we're here in San Francisco, what was the reason for deleting the 5th Street Improvement Project?
So the San Francisco County Transportation Authority requested that one of the projects that they had programmed previously be deleted and that the funding be put on one of the other previously programmed projects that is able to move forward more quickly.
Great, thank you. Do we have any other questions from commissioners? Do we have any public comment?
We received no public comment for this item. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Falcone moves.
Falcone,
Second, Bradshaw.
Bradshaw, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move to Beverly and tab 115 through 117.
Commissioners, I will present tabs 115, 116, and 117 together with a recommendation at the end. And before I start, I just want to make it clear that tabs 115 and 116 are active transportation program items. And then tab 117 is a local alternative transportation improvement program item, just so you don't get confused with them all together. Okay, so tab 115 is an action item to approve an amendment to the 2023 Active Transportation Program statewide and small urban and rural components, specifically to program an additional $6,741,000 to the construction phase of the San Diego Association of Governments Howard Bikeway Connecting Vibrant San Diego Neighborhoods project, programmed in the statewide component. And to program an additional $5,927,000 to the construction phase of the City of Salinas Hardin Parkway Path and Safe Routes to School project, programmed in the small urban and rural component. The Commission adopted the 2023 Active Transportation Program statewide and small urban and rural components on December 7th, 2022. At the time of program adoption, there was not enough programming capacity to recommend the requested amounts for these two projects. Both projects were at the funding score thresholds and their respective components and received partial funding. Commission staff has identified savings from programmed projects and phases lapsed from lapsed phases or from projects that were deleted from the program. Approval of this amendment would allow these savings to be used to fully program both projects up to their original ATP requests. Tab 116 is an action item to approve a funding distribution change for Sacramento County's Elkhorn Boulevard Complete Streets project. The city is requesting to move active transportation program funds totaling $185,000 from the PS&E phase currently programmed in fiscal year 24-25 to the EPA and ED phase programmed in 23-24. Staff has reviewed this request and it is consistent with the 2023 Active Transportation Program guidelines. Finally, tab 117 is an action item to approve minor updates to the State Route 84 Local Alternative Transportation Improvement Program priority list and to approve advanced funding for the existing State Route 84 improvements project. Please note that this item has letters of support that were included as the yellow attachments. In January 2010, the Commission approved the State Route 84 Local Alternative Transportation Improvement Program priority project list. This action would make minor edits to that priority list, including edits to estimated costs, edits to project implementing agencies, and project names. Additionally, the City of Fremont is requesting the Commission's approval of advanced funding totaling $5,110,000 for Phase 1 of the existing SR 84 improvements project. This request is consistent with the State Route 84 Local Alternative Transportation Improvement Program guidelines. So Commissioners, tabs 115, 116, and 117 are action items and staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Beverly. Do we have any questions or comments from commissioners on 115, 116, or 117? Commissioner Bradshaw? Nope. Do we have any public comment?
We received no public comment for these items. Thank you.
Then I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second, Martinez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, he's back. It's a voice from God somewhere that said hi. Yeah. Motion carries. Thank you. We are at Monica, tab 118.
Tab 118 is an action item to amend the Proposition 1B Intercity Rail Program by deprogramming $600,000 for the construction phase of the Camarillo Station Improvement Project, decreasing the construction phase to $2,845,000, adding $1,900,000 to the environmental phase of the Camarillo Station Improvement Project, and deleting the interim San Luis Obispo Layover Facility Expansion Project, which was deallocated under tab 73. Staff has reviewed this request and finds it consistent with the Proposition 1B Intercity Rail Program guidelines. Staff recommends approval of this request.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments on 118? Do we have any public comment?
We received no public comment for 118.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Lou, second. Cruz, I think I saw your hand. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We now will move to 119 through 122. John.
All right, these are all shop allocation items. 119 is for shop construction allocations, and it'll allocate $333,307,000 for 24 shop projects. 120 is also an action item for shop construction allocations. And there is one change on the change list where a note has been added to one of the projects on this one. Excuse me. So with that change, this item will allocate $59,294,000 for 3 shop projects. 121 is an action item for shop pre-construction support allocations. There is a note on the change list. Project number 2 has been withdrawn. With that change, this item will allocate $46,494,000 for 37 shop pre-construction phases. And item number 122 is an action item to allocate $23,100,000 in right-of-way capital for a shop roadway rehabilitation project on State Route 99 in Fresno County. Staff has reviewed items 119, 120, 121, and 122 and recommends approval.
Do we have any questions or comments from commissioners on 119 through 122? Do we have any public comment?
We received no public comment for any of these items. Thank you.
Second, Bradshaw.
Thank you. Martinez and Bradshaw, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, John. Thank you, Vice Chair. Appreciate it. Now we will move to KC 123 through 131.
Commissioners, I'll be taking tabs 123 through 131 together. Tab 123 requests to allocate $2,254,939 to 5 Federal Corona Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act of 2021 in various counties. Tab 124 requests to allocate $3 million to 1 state-administered state transportation improvement program project in San Mateo County. Tab 125 requests to allocate $1,547,000 to 1 locally administered state transportation improvement program project in San Luis Obispo County. Tab 126 requests to allocate $5,290,000 to 4 locally administered state transportation improvement program projects and 2 planning, programming, and monitoring projects in various counties. Tab 127 requests to allocate $11,868,000 to 1 state-administered state transportation improvement program project in Santa Barbara County. Tab 128 requests to allocate $259,000 to 1 state transportation improvement program planning, programming, and monitoring project in Imperial County. Tab 129 requests to advance allocate $1,629,000 to 1 state-administered state transportation improvement program project in San Bernardino County. Tab 130 is also an advance allocation for $21,000 to 1 state transportation improvement program planning, programming, and monitoring project in Sierra County. And tab 131 is a request to allocate $19,913,000 to 1 state-administered state transportation improvement program project, AB 3090 reimbursement in Riverside County. Staff has reviewed these requests and finds them consistent with their program guidelines. Staff recommends approval of tabs 123 through 131.
Thank you, Casey. Do we have any questions or comments from commissioners? Do we have any public comment?
We received no public comment for items 123 through 131.
Then I will entertain a motion.
Falcone moves.
Bradshaw, second.
Falcone and Bradshaw, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now we will move, what number are we on now? 132. 132. Beverly.
Commissioners, tab 132 is an action item to approve the annual allocation of $3,481,000 for the San Francisco Bay Area Ferry Program, also known as the Waterborne Ferry Program, for fiscal year 23-24. This allocation is contingent on the passage of the state budget, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Beverly. Any comments or questions?
Actually, one of our San Francisco representatives moved this one.
Let me check on public comment first. Do we have any public comment?
No public comment was received for this item.
Thank you. Then I will entertain a motion from Commissioner Grizzly.
So moved.
Do I have a second? For
Second,
Commissioner Bradshaw. Yes, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will move to 133 through 136. Anya.
Commissioners, I will be presenting tabs 133 through 136 together. Tabs 133 and 136 are action items requesting allocation of local partnership, competitive, and formulaic program funds. Please note that for tab 133, there are corrections on the change list for the Limonite Gap closure projects. Tabs 134 and 135 are action items requesting allocation of local partnership formulaic program and STIP funds for multi-funded projects. Staff has reviewed these requests and they are consistent with the local partnership competitive program and formulaic program and the STIP guidelines. Therefore, staff recommends your approval of tabs 133 through 136.
Thank you, Anya. Do we have any questions or comments from commissioners? Do we have any public comment?
No public comment for these items.
Thank you. Then I'll entertain a motion.
Move it. Tavaloni.
Motion by Tavaloni, second by Martinez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 130, where am I?
137.
37, yes, oh, there we go. 137, Naveen.
Commissioners, tab 137 is an action item to approve a Cycle 2 Solutions for Congested Corridors program allocation of $14,850,000 for BART's locally administered MacArthur Downtown Oakland Interlock Cabling Upgrade Contract project component in Alameda County. This request is consistent with the Solutions for Congested Corridors program and guidelines. Therefore, staff recommends your approval of tab 137.
Thank you, Naveen. Any comments or questions? Any public comment?
No public comment was received for 137.
Thank you. Then I will entertain a motion for 137.
So moved.
Commissioner Grigsby?
Second, Bradshaw.
Bradshaw seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Kayla, 138.
Hi, Commissioners. Tab 138 is an allocation request for $13,383,000 in Trade Corridor Enhancement Program funds for the State Route 47 Vincent Thomas Bridge and Harbor Boulevard Front Street Interchange Improvement Project in Los Angeles County. Staff has reviewed the request and the item is consistent with the Trade Corridor Enhancement Program guidelines. Therefore, staff recommends your approval of tab 138.
Thank you, Kayla. Any questions or comments? Any public comment?
No public comment was received for this item.
Thank you. Then I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve Martinez.
Martinez. Second,
Tavaloni,
Cruz.
second.
Oh, Tavaloni and Cruz second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Woohoo.
Items left.
Tab 139 through 142. We're back to Beverly.
Commissioners, I will present tabs 139 through 142 together with a recommendation at the end. Tab 139 is an action item to approve allocations of $22,922,000 for 18 locally administered active transportation program projects. Tab 140 is an action item to approve a construction phase allocation of $4,302,000 for the Richmond-San Rafael Bridge Shared Use Path Gap Closure Project in Marin County. Tab 141 is an action item to approve advance allocations of $1,305,000 for 4 locally administered ATP projects programmed in fiscal year 2023-24. And tab 142 is an action item to approve a multi-funded active transportation program and state transportation improvement program construction phase allocation of $9,564,000 for the San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency's Folsom Streetscape project. Staff has reviewed these requests and finds them consistent with the program guidelines and the adopted programs. Therefore, staff recommends approval of tabs 139, 140, 141, and 142.
Thank you, Beverly. Any comments or questions on 139 through 142? Do we have any public comment?
No public comment was received for these items.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second. Bradshaw and Falcone. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 143 and 144 will be taken together. We'll turn to Monica.
Commissioners, I will be presenting tabs 143 and 144 together with a recommendation after tab 144. Tab 143 is an action item requesting to allocate $1,900,000 in Proposition 1B Intercity Rail Program funds to the Camarillo Station Improvements Project for environmental work. This project has a related program amendment under tab 118. Staff has reviewed this. My apologies. Tab 144. Tab 144 is an action item requesting to allocate $62,240,000 in transit and intercity rail capital program funds to 10 projects. Please note that the information for project 1 was updated and the changes are reflected on the change list. Staff has reviewed the request for tab 143 and find them consistent with the respective guidelines. For tab 143, staff recommendation is as follows: is approval of the allocation and that the Proposition 1B intercity rail funds be spent first. So, staff recommends approval of the request.
Could you read the 143 one more time?
Yes. So we for recommend approval for the allocation, as well as that the Proposition 1B intercity rail funds are spent first.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from commissioners? Do we have any public comment on 143 or 144?
No public comment was received for 143 or 144.
Thank you. Then I'll entertain a motion.
I move staff's recommendation.
Commissioner Liu, do I have a second?
Tavaloni.
Second, Tavaloni.
Go caucus.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Then we will move to Jaden, 145 through 173.
Commissioner Eager, or Chair Eager, I apologize. I'll be presenting tabs 145 to 173 and tabs 175 to 178, and then tab 174 will be taken separately. So tabs 145 to 173 and 175 to 178 include time extension requests for SHOP, STIP, ATP, LPP competitive and formula, TSIP, SCCP, and TIRCP funded projects. Staff has reviewed these time extension requests and finds them in alignment with their respective program guidelines. Staff recommends approval of tabs 145 through 173 and 175 through 178.
Thank you. Do we have any comments or questions from commissioners?
Motion to approve, Martinez.
Do we have any public comment?
No public comment was received for these items.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second by Falcone. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll go back to 174.
Commissioners, tabs 174 is a request to extend the period of project completion for the network integration component of 2 transit intercity rail capital program projects. Project 1 is the Southern California Optimized Rails Expansion SCORE project, and project 2 is the Sacramento Valley Station SVS Transit Center project. Staff recommends deferring project 1 to the June 2023 commission meeting. Staff has outstanding questions about the request. Therefore, staff recommends deferral of project 1. For this project, the Southern California Regional Rail Authority may continue incurring cost until June 30th, 2023, and request approval of project 2.
So there were two projects in 174. One, we're going to ask them to wait until June to bring it forward.
Chair, sorry to interrupt. If Teresa, if you could make a couple of clarifications on the recommendation before us.
Right. So for this project, for this request, project number one, the SCORE project, staff is recommending deferral and allowing the implementing agency to continue incurring costs until June commission meeting. The reason for this is because the timely use of funds expires June 15th, which is before the next commission meeting. So they would just continue spending money with your authority. And then at the June meeting, we would be coming before you to request a time extension for this project once we kind of vet out all the questions we have pending on this project.
Can you tell us, it's just in general, what were some of the questions on why we can't vote for that today?
Well, it's just clarification on the scope of work, and the reasons for the time extensions are relating to that scope of work. So we just want to get clarification from the local agency, and we've already got confirmation with the local agency that we can proceed with this approach.
And just one thing to add to Teresa's comments, our approach provides no impacts to the product being delivered.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions for Teresa or staff?
I'll move as proposed by staff.
Second.
Second by Bradshaw. Do we have any public comment?
No public comment was received for this item.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now we will move to item number 179. Maybe Jaden.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioners, tabs 179 through 181 are time extension amendment requests for projects in the State Highway Operations and Protection Program, the Active Transportation Program, and a multi-funded trade corridor enhancement program and STIP Transportation Improvement Program project. Staff has reviewed tabs 179 through 181 and recommends approval.
Thank you, Jaden. Do we have any other questions or comments on this issue? Any public comment?
No public comment was received for these items. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion by Bradshaw.
Avalone, second.
Tavaloni seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll take 182 and 183 together.
Commissioners, tabs 182 and 183 are post-fact and post-fact amendment time extension requests for State Highway Operations and Protection Program projects. Staff has reviewed tabs 182 and 183 and recommends approval.
Thank you, Jaden. We have any comments or questions? Do we have any public comment?
No public comment was received for these items.
And I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion Bradshaw, second. Grisby, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That completes our items. Do we have any public comment in general?
I do not see any attendees indicating they wish to comment at this time.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say what amazing work and congratulations to all of you. I think we allocated about $1.655 billion for these 2 days. So great work for everyone. Sometimes that's a little, well, it just goes.
Check my wallet, see if there's any money left in it.
No, none. Yeah. No, wonderful work. Thank you, staff. And for an amazing couple of days, thank you to MTC for hosting us. And we look forward to seeing all of you in Suisun City. What's the dates, Douglas? 28th and 29th, yes.
June 28th and 29th.
Thank you all.
City is near Fairfield, for those who don't know.
And Vallejo and all those areas, yeah. So with that, we are adjourned.
Say it again. Which one? Sure.